Hello, guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast. We are live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, we're live on Twitter. Somehow we've actually managed to work it out, and it has worked. It's been a nightmare trying to get it sorted, but there we are. Hi, Brad. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Plug Pedro's here as well. Hello, Plug Pedro. Thomas, I'm so sorry that it's ruined it for you. The Twitter ruined the results. I apologize. I've been there, my friend. I apologize. Thank you. Hello, Thomas. Hope you're okay. Hello, Neil. Plug Pedro. Oh my God, they are handsome.
That's all we got. That's it. We don't know how good our review is going to be, but we are looking good. My wife's in that other room over there. I want her to hear that.
Right, guys, that's us done. That is us done. Peacing out.
Boom.
Thank you very much. No, thank you for joining us. I hope you have had a lovely Christmas and you enjoyed Stardom, Dream, Queendom, and of course, year-end Climax and New Blood 12 as well. I'm joined, of course, by Mr. Positivity himself. It's only Matt Bloody Turner. Matt Turner, how are you, good sir?
I'm good, brother. I know we just recorded another episode right before this because that's how we do it, my friend. And this is such a great day for me because I woke up, watched a phenomenal Stardom show, regardless of, the main event and crashing. We'll get into that. But I thought Stardom did a great job by giving the main event free on YouTube. But then I went to my eye doctor appointment, and my eye doctor says, "You're in your 40s and your eyes somehow got better." He said, "How did that possibly happen?" You know what I told him, Rob? I told him I believed in Tam. That's what I told him. I didn't tell him that. I just told him that I just told him that I ate a lot of carrots. And Rob, if I'm doing this podcast with me, I'm very eccentric. I very like people. I'm very somewhat funny in a bad way, good way, regardless. And I'm throwing all this verbiage at this guy, and he's having none of it. And I came home and I told my wife, I said, "He just has nothing." I couldn't get anything out of this guy. Anything. Like the receptionist, the one lady that took the picture. I had everybody laughing. I get in there and I was like, they gave me the giant goggle glasses things. And I'm like, "Oh, do I get to take those home?" And he's like, "No, I need them." Like, he was dead serious. I'm like, "What would I do with these anyway?" But then, get to come home and I watched the Soriano versus Mirai match over again because they put that up on YouTube. Yeah, then we got a little bipoi, my man.
No, it says iPoi.
Oh, look at that. Look how you see that. Maybe I do need a stronger context.
Yeah, I was just going to say, maybe you should have spent less time trying to make him laugh and actually let him do his damn job.
That's what it could have been. But then I watched Micah versus Suzu again. And then we just literally, just about an hour ago, we did the alternate commentary for the first episode that'll drop on New Year's. The alternate commentary for our fine folks over at the Stardom Cast Extra of Micah versus Suzu Suzuki from the 5-star Grand Prix. But this was a great show, brother. This was a phenomenal show. I absolutely loved it. And I have my notes here, but because it's so fresh in my mind, I don't know if there's very much I'm going to refer to. I think I'm going to go with my memory, which it could be a really good thing, a really bad thing. There might be no in between. So
yeah, no, I got that.
So why is everybody
face killer?
Yeah, there he is. Why everybody's commenting? What do you guys think about the new logo that we literally got probably at like 12:30 your time? And I was like, I hope he's up. So what does everybody think about the new logo?
And I think more importantly as well, I love the new logo, by the way. One thing I will say is I don't know where the 14 chins I've got going on this logo have come from. But I mean, thank you, Thomas. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad, Neil, you like it. Thank you very much. I'm slightly concerned about how big my chin is, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. Definitely haven't got a complex because of it. But yeah, be a face killer. Thank you.
I did talk to, that'll be I know that I already ordered and I put up on social media, the black and white stickers. Those will be coming in the mail probably in the next 2 or 3 days. I've already sold out half the inventory on pre-orders. So anybody that wants the black and white stickers, let me know, shoot me a message. Like I said, I already have half the inventory to sell to ship out. So now that we have the new logo, the colored stickers, and then I'm assuming because Rob is an absolute genius, we'll probably be putting that up on some of the merchandise as you see below. So, and if that does go all well, I did talk to Mindy Indy, who is an independent artist who I've known for a long time, who has done the new logo. And I told her maybe about 5 or 6 months we will touch base with her doing another logo of us dressed up as Stardom characters. And I already told Rob we got to do Meltier, me and him, and the with the crowns, and I mean, I think that's just money printing money, brother. I think that's the way we got to go. But we'll discuss that when it comes to the summer months, my friend.
I have a feeling that is going to be a very one-sided conversation, because I feel like if we're not going to be Fukic and Death, what is the point? But yes,
you can be not the point with the paint. How about we do?
Oh, could be. So in very weird news. So obviously, I was talking to you, Matt, beforehand. Obviously, you have already seen the Iron Claw, which is out in cinemas right now. I was saying to you that progress has been made in getting my girlfriend to go and see it. Obviously, led with Zac Efron being a buff boy, and he is a buff boy.
He's in his underwear too. I told you, he's in his underwear for a good portion of that movie as well.
Don't worry, I said it, and she was like, "Okay, I'll watch the trailer." Now, unfortunately, it's not in cinemas near us, so we'll have to make a day of it somewhere. But I would like to think that it's touch and go, but it's definitely more positive than I thought. And then she actually sat and watched a Stardom match with me today. So this morning, my wrestling-averse girlfriend came and sat with me voluntarily as well to watch Mirai versus Soriano, which was great. It's very weird watching a wrestling match with someone who's got no concept of wrestling whatsoever, does not understand the nuances, doesn't understand any of that, is just commenting on the most ridiculous things in the world. And then this was compounded by, of course, we had the return of Natsupoi, not in ring yet, but hopefully it's imminent. And Kirsty looked at me and went, "Are those two sisters?" As in Natsupoi and Soriano. I was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "Are they the same person?" And it took her ages to work out that it wasn't just her little sister that had broken through the crowd barriers to basically sit with Soriano. But yeah, she was like, "I don't get it, but sure." She actually sat through the entire match as well, and it was the longest match on the card. So, do you know what? We may have a third member of the Stardom Cast soon. Who knows?
Hey, the more the merrier. The more the merrier. But it was funny because you had text me halfway through the match, and you obviously we'll get into it as we get towards the end of the podcast because it was the co-main event, and you had made mention that this is what Kirsty said, and I was like, that's kind of funny. And then there was, again, we'll get into it, we get to the end, because I thought the match was amazing. As good as their 5-star match was, as good as their match at Gold Rush was, this was even better. And I think me and you text each other back and forth, add this to the already long legendary list of phenomenal must-see matches for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. And I went on Twitter just to kind of post my thoughts, and it was very divisive, where there were some people that didn't like it at all. I think even somebody said this is Soriano's worst performance of all time. I was like, did I watch a different match? And then again, because of the feed going down, we were able to get Micah versus Suzu for free, and then Sayori versus Mirai for free. So while I was getting ready to go for my eye doctor appointment, I've already watched Suzu and Micah and did my notes. So now I'm going to go back and watch this match. Did I just really enjoy this? Like, is I just like super positive? I mean, is there something maybe that I saw that I didn't? I went back and watched it, and again, I loved it even more. So I don't know. Sorry if you didn't. Maybe you need a hug. But halfway through, my wife came down, and she literally said the same thing that your girlfriend said about Sarah News gear. Which I was like, that's exactly what Rob's girlfriend said. She goes, "Boy, I tell you what," she goes, "you two think alike, and we two think alike." And I was like, when we first started doing this podcast, we got about 7-8 months in, and there wasn't a week that went by that people would say, "There's no way Matt's in Pennsylvania in America, and there's no way Rob's over in England. You guys have to be brothers. You guys have to meet." You're like, "No, it's just literally like we're just like wrestling adjacent brothers," and apparently our significant others are ours as well. So our condolences to both Americans that have to put up with all this, because God bless them. I literally the other day I had to send Amber my podcast recording schedule, which changes from time to time, and then my wrestling watching schedule for this week, because we have this. Tomorrow is the AW show. Then we have the show on the 3rd, the Triangle Derby, and then we have the 2 shows on the 4th with Wrestle Kingdom and the Mayu vs. Shuri match. So it's like, here it is.
Yeah, haven't quite broached that subject with Kirsty yet. We'll see how that goes. If I'm not on the next podcast, she has killed me. So
Via ironclad.
Absolutely. Just get all buff like Zac Efron. I'm not going to do. Ordinarily, we start with what's coming up on the Patreon, but as we dropped our preview episode, which if you haven't seen, definitely go and listen to it. It's over 2.5 hours long because we apparently just love to talk. So if you haven't already checked that out, please go check that out. But I'm not going to go through the Patreon because we did it just 2 days ago. So there's no point in me retreading old ground. But I want to go sort of into some news. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go through some news, which quite a lot's come out today, which is quite interesting, especially as we don't tend to podcast on a Friday, which means that we miss the newsletter, which has come out today and, of course, is just full of stuff regarding Giulia and Mercedes Moné. So we'll talk all about that in a minute. And then we'll talk about the year-end Climax show, which dropped on, I believe, yesterday, went on to Stardom World. And then we'll talk, obviously, in detail about Dream Queendom as well. Now, first things first, Matt, and I know that we have already had a question about this from our dear friend Bearded Face Killer, who says, what do you think of Meltzer constantly reporting that Giulia is leaving, obviously watching live on Twitter? So the Wrestling Observer newsletter have put out that Giulia right now is seen as likely to be going to WWE in 2024. Her contract expires with Stardom in March. She may not be coming in right away, but as of right now, she's leaning toward going to WWE in 2024. Now, obviously, first things first, it's wrestling. Things can change. That's the most important thing that I think we need to talk about. It was reported that she was actually in Orlando at one point. Like literally there already, and she was
in November.
Yeah. And then it's been reported that a contract was due in January, which it's not. It's due at the end of March. And now we've got another report. Now, I'm of the belief that Giulia probably is going to end up in WWE sooner rather than later. Now, we'll talk a little bit in a moment about something else that was added to the newsletter today, but there's no smoke without fire. And I feel like this story has sort of been going through the motions. It's been gathering steam. Giulia has not only been learning English, and we heard a little bit of that at Dream Queendom, where her English was damn near flawless. Let's be perfectly honest. I know the chances are she's rehearsed and everything, but her English is better than mine. And I am English.
I was going to say the same thing, dude. You literally took it right out of my mind. I was going to say the same thing.
But, you know, we talked in our preview episode about how she'd done an interview with, I think it was Number Mag. And she said about how, you know, she does want to wrestle in America. She hasn't made any bones about wanting to wrestle in America. There have been rumblings from people more in the know than us that there might be legs to this story. If she goes, I wouldn't be surprised. And if you're looking at it from a Giulia perspective, the money that WWE can offer is infinitely more than she'll make in Stardom. Now, that's not an NXT deal. From what I understand, the deal in Stardom is worth more than an NXT deal or an old developmental deal. I don't know if they're still called that. However, if she were to go onto the main roster or go straight to the main roster, then she would make considerably more than she would in Stardom. And me and you were talking a little bit about this, Matt, and what the positives were for Giulia to go to Stardom and to go to WWE. The first one obviously is the money, but the second one as well. And I can't help but think this. You know, her aim for so long was to reach the summit of Stardom, was to become the World of Stardom Champion. And her reign, in my opinion, was cut short wrongly. The reign was a bit of, for lack of a better phrase, a wet fart. You know, she had a great match with Suzu Suzuki. She had a good match with Mai Yukihi, and then dropped the belt to Tam. And I don't think any of us saw that coming, especially as, you know, Giulia has been prepped as the top star in Stardom since she came in 2019. To give her 3 months at the top of the company is bizarre. And I do wonder how much that has wrangled Giulia as well. But, you know, again, until there is something more substantive, it is just rumor. It is just rumor. So, Matt, what do you sort of think about this? What do you think about the likelihood of us having a Giulia free Stardom? And of course, the big thing to point out is that March is the date that's been quoted in the Wrestling Observer, which means that Giulia will not be on the Yokohama Buntai show. She will not be at All-Star Grand Queendom 2024. Now, if I'm Stardom and I know that Giulia is leaving, or I even have an inkling that Giulia is thinking of leaving, I make sure that Giulia is on that card, because if you want to do big numbers on that Yokohama Buntai show, Giulia needs to be in a prominent position on that card. If it's a last match, if it's a retirement match, that's a last match before she goes to WWE, she needs to be on that card. If you want to sell tickets, if you want to do a good number, if you want to match the number they did this year, which was over 5,500, I think it was 5,600 and something. So, Matt, anyway, sorry, talked a lot, please.
First of all, I don't think they can beat that number because I think they ran the Yokohama Arena this past year. We have 3 days left of the year. This past year, and I believe the Yokohama Buntai only seats like 5,100. So I don't think, not unless they do the tight numbers. But regardless, you want to do 4,500 to 5,000 people.
Of course,
give or take. From what we kind of understand, kind of what we were told is we knew that Giulia, we had the common knowledge that everybody had that her contract was up in March, regardless of people saying, no, it's up yesterday and she's going to be in Orlando. We asked our good friend Karen Peterson if she saw, who lives in the Orlando area. She said she did not see Giulia around. I said, you let us know. You give us the scoop, Karen. And
she did some scouting.
Yes. She was looking at the 7-Eleven and no, could not find her. But no, that her contract was up in March. However, she kind of had like an old school promoter's handshake verbal agreement deal to work throughout the summer. That appears now that she is going to be, again, will not extend her contract, again, kind of from what we understand and kind of what has been reported numerous times to the Wrestling Observer. Again, there's some times where Meltzer gets things right, and a lot of times we all get things right and wrong, you know, but this is so many times that this has been reported. It looks like that Giulia, again, I could be wrong, it is pro wrestling, things change all the time, that she will not be renewing her contract come the end of March, and that she kind of wants to take maybe some time off to heal some injuries before she reports to WWE. In my opinion, it'll probably be towards the end of the summer, beginning of fall, because obviously she's been working that breakneck schedule. She works that insane pace. I mean, we saw it with the match earlier today with her and Megan Bayne just dropping each other's on their head back and forth. Just an insane match, and we'll get into it. Phenomenal stuff. But yes, I think that's probably what's going to happen, is that she'll finish up in March, and then we'll probably see her on WWE TV maybe sometime around SummerSlam or going towards the beginning of the fall of 2024. Again, it's wrestling. It all can change. I hope that they can kind of say, you know, you can kind of finish up in March, rest up a little, and then just come back for that Yokohama show. She doesn't even need to do press. Like, she can cut interviews, put it on the Tron, and you can really do anything with it. You can do that dream match with Utami we never got. You can finish the story with Tam. You know, if you want, you do Tam versus Giulia. You don't need a belt. You don't need a belt. They haven't. I don't think they've ever really done one of those if it hasn't been a 5-star match or for the red belt or for the white belt. And you can kind of just end it there. You can do the the big Saya match that we never got. There's a lot there that you can do that you can entice Giulia. Again, we don't know where her head's at. You know, maybe that they can't. Again, if she's not going to WWE until the end of the summer, you may say, okay, you know, you're done in March. Come back for the Yokohama show, and we'll give you this, this, and this, and then, you know, maybe, hey, we'll sell your merchandise from April until the end of the year, and we'll give you a bigger cut of that or whatever. I don't know how all that works, but considering the fact that she's done everything in Stardom, and you mentioned before, partner, we've talked about this on the show for the last 6 or 7 months, is that her World of Stardom Championship run, considering we are coming off Mayu legendary run, Utami legendary run, Shuri legendary run, where Stardom treats those championships, all their championships, with a lot of praise. And we were building Giulia up, and we've been building her up and breaking her back down and building her up, which is the proper way to build up your next star, is that she was going to be the face of the company. And she really only got one clear win in her championship run, considering the fact that everybody she lost to or didn't defeat in the 5-star. When Giulia won the World of Stardom Championship and a phenomenal match with Shuri at last year's Dream Queen, we all sat back and said, look at all the matches she has set up for this. She lost to Hazuki. She lost to Mirai. She lost to Momo. She had a draw with Suzu Suzuki, and she had a draw with Mayu. You had 5 matches right there that you could have ran for the next 7 or 8 months. And in that time, you can reheat up Starlight Kid, because it doesn't take much for them to have a great match. You can heat. Those were all fantastic things that you can do. It's just, we never got it because I think they just wanted the Tam, being the hot hand, strike while the iron's hot and go there. I don't know if that's part of why she's leaving, or maybe the fact that she just had a taste of wrestling in America, and the WWE machine is something absolutely huge. Well, Stardom drew over 3,000 for them. WWE's drawing anywhere between 17,000, 18,000 people every week on Raw and SmackDown. 2 million people. She goes to SmackDown because they're on the Fox network. 2 million people are watching that show every single week. If that's a show she winds up on, that's massively bigger than anything that Stardom can do. And she'll be working probably more, but she's not going to be working these 20, 25-minute matches where she's getting dropped on her head and vice versa. It's going to take less taxing on her body, plus the money. Not only can WWE offer her a bigger contract, you have to understand the merchandise that they do, that they move between the figures and the Funko Pops and the shirts and the this or that. Now, I know a guy, Rob Goodwin, that was on the cover of one of those video games. His quarterly check for that year, yes, I'm not going to say his name, but if you Google who was on the cover of the WWE video game in 2013, his quarterly check for just the video game alone, quarterly check, was over 7 figures. Now, I'm not saying Giulia's going to wind up on the cover of one of these games, but just give you an idea of how much money they make just in the video games. On the positive side of it for Stardom, obviously, we don't want to see Giulia go. If she goes, obviously, we want to, just like with Kyrie, we wish you the best. Maybe we'll add Giulia into the Julie, Kyrie, and Io watch. We'll see how that goes, because the podcast needs to be longer.
Absolutely.
But if Giulia's on the positive side, if you look at it from a financial aspect from Stardom, if Giulia's making this much, right? If she decides to re-sign with Stardom, she's going to ask for this. So now if she goes to WWE, you have all that money to play with, where you can maybe bring in, depending on what happens with Mercedes, maybe sign up Utami for a few more years. Saya, make sure everybody is going to be happy with what they're getting. Bringing in the Inabe sisters. You could maybe, sign somebody else or use that money for production. English commentary. We got 2 handsome guys right here. We saw it right over here. Somebody said they're handsome. Hello. We'll draw money. Bring us in for English commentary. I'm a trained wrestler. I'll take a pile driver through the table. I'm good to go on that.
I'm not a trained wrestler. I'll take a pile driver through the table.
Just tuck your chin and say a little prayer, brother. You're all right. I got you. Tuck the chin. But that's where I think it's going to go. I think that Giulia is we'll probably see the end of the summer, beginning of fall. That, like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. I think she will wind up in the WWE. I don't know. We were kind of texting back and forth. We don't want this to be how she left Ice Ribbon. If she knows now that she's going in 3-4 months, do the right thing. And I think the right thing would be, we're looking at the pay-per-view schedule, the last pay-per-view and the end of March, which might be her final show, her final big show, is that Cinderella final. We're assuming Micah will still be the champion. We're assuming, even though every year we pick Micah to make it to the final 4, she doesn't need to be there. Spoilers. First of all, if you're watching this, we're going to spoil the pay-per-view from earlier today, by the way. So
yes.
We're assuming that Micah will still be champion. And I told you, I said, all they got to do is copy an A, get an A. What happened back in 2018? You had a mega star in Io Shirai, who was the leader of Queen's Quest, getting ready to leave to go to WWE. You had a phenomenal understudy in Momo Watanabe. Io loses to Momo, the white belt, and she basically gives her control of Queen's Quest, the faction that she started. Now, obviously, Mike is the champion. I think the proper way for her to go out, if they're not going to get her on that Yokohama show, and her last show is going to be, supposedly the Cinderella final, if that's, that's true, is that it needs to be her and Micah. And because Micah did call out at the end of the show. She called out Tam, she called out Utami, she called out Saya, she called out Giulia. I'm like, okay, we got 4 matches. I'm ready to go. Take more of my money, Stardom. You got it, no problem. But I think that's where Giulia puts her over. She puts her over clean and says, not only are you the World of Stardom champion, you are now the leader of Donald Del Mundo. Maybe at that time they bring Suzu Suzuki into DDM. As long as if whoever Suzu goes, I don't care. As long as she brings May Sarah with her, because them as Crazy Star, and considering the fact that that Suzu did not win the red belt, that opens up something for Crazy Star. So if we get a Crazy Star versus Aphrodite match somewhere down the line, the possibilities for Stardom are endless in 2024, my friend. They really, really are. Especially with the other little bit of news that kind of leaked out today that everybody was freaking out about. I'm like, you guys don't see the good in this one, do you?
We'll be talking about that in a second. Yeah, I agree. I just don't want her to leave in the same way Kairi did, in the fact that Kairi came in in 2022 and ultimately didn't really put anyone over. Is there anybody who ultimately got the rub from Kairi? And ultimately, no. And I know that's not on Kairi. I just want to quickly point that out. I fully understand that. But Giulia has the opportunity, as Plug Pedro says in the comments, to do the right thing.
Thanks, Pedro.
Yeah, and actually, I believe that the Misfit Wrestling podcast actually said Giulia should be putting over Micah before she leaves. 100%. Yes, it's all very well giving Micah what is left of Donald Del Mundo, because I think at that point there'll only be Tekla and May Sakurai. But
and her hat.
And a hat. That hat is another member on its own. I mean, it was quite a small hat today. You did message me. It was quite a disappointing hat today. I expected it to be like massive.
It was pretty big, but it should have been bigger.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I feel like every time she wins, it needs to get bigger. Black Panther, every time it gets hit, it gets more powerful. I feel like that hat needs to get bigger. And then maybe a diving elbow drop will improve, but I'm not taking any...
It weighs it down. She puts it on and it weighs it down. It comes down faster.
Just go through a couple of these comments before we move on to the next bit of news. So Eric Vanderford says, I get the impression that Giulia's short reign with the red belt was a result of the weird Bushi Road fight management choices. Completely agree with you. It's the only possible reason that I can possibly think that you would build Giulia up for 3 years and then have her drop the belt after 3 months to Tam, who didn't need it. As I've already said, Misfit Wrestling Podcast says Giulia should be putting Micah over. He also says, or they also say, that the January 4th show is having commentary. I did not know that. Hopefully that'll be great. Will that be Walker Stewart?
I don't know. We'll have to ask him. He's bloody Lars.
Yeah. We'll ask Walker. He's a good guy. Notice that Micah didn't call out the real top dog. She's afraid of Fukigen death. Damn right, Brad. Damn right. And then finally, John Riley says, be hilarious if Mercedes has been teasing a WWE return only to return to Stardom. Well, it's funny you should mention that, John
What a
Riley.
segue.
Look at that. Just, again, Wrestling Observer newsletter, and this is the thing that melted the internet for about 20 minutes. Besides the new deal working with All Japan, WWE has also expressed interest in working with Stardom. Nothing is finalized, but WWE is confirmed as interested, and that comes from this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter. Now, I know that everyone has read that and gone, oh my God, they're going to poach Mayu, they're going to poach Natsupoi, Starlight, they're going to poach all this amazing talent from Stardom, and we're going to end up with the dregs of NXT. Now, I know that that's what Mayu will go over and she'll end up jobbing to Chelsea Green or something like that. Or she'll end up being, under a mask like Okada was in TNA.
Did you see that Chelsea Green, before I forget, did you see Chelsea Green commented on this already?
No, I didn't. Is it about that drop kick?
Exactly. I'll forget. Somebody took the tweet from what the Wrestling Observer said, put the Freedom dropkick. If you haven't seen, just go on Twitter anywhere, just type in Freedom dropkick to Chelsea
everywhere.
Green. Chelsea Green literally retweeted the 2 tweets and says, if Mayu comes in, I need to talk to my agent about this. So she's selling it and putting it over.
Look, I know that there is a certain inherent negativity about this. Now, the All Japan deal is done. That's, we've got NXT talent coming over. I believe it's Charlie Dempsey who's going over to challenge for the Triple Crown Championship on the 3rd of January. Charlie Dempsey, of course, the son of William Regal. And I know that was met with, let's say, negativity. So I don't know. I can understand why people are reticent and people are a bit hesitant about this deal. Now, if we're going to talk about positives of a WWE and a Stardom partnership, which is what we do, because we're a positive podcast, and as Plug Pedro says, we love Matt Turner. I know. Doesn't love me, just loves you, apparently. Wow. Thanks.
Say something you love Rob too. It's Christmas.
I feel like it doesn't mean as much now. I know that we're going to focus on, like I say, the negatives, but the positives are that a talent sharing agreement. If Giulia does go to WWE, she could end up wrestling back in Stardom. We could have Io over for a big show. We could have Asuka coming over. We could have Kairi come back and still not put anyone over. Dude, she's already put two more people on SmackDown over than she did in the entirety of a run in Stardom. I'm not okay
he
with
said
that.
He was going to be positive, and he just 180
Sorry,
it.
last bit.
We booked it in completely. We for anybody on Patreon or thinking about getting on Patreon. I guess here's my plug. We booked an entire what if. Me and Rob booked Kairi's 2022-2023 run. So there you go. People get put
Asuka might be a bit ambitious, but we do get a lot of talent that will come over, and again, that's been positive. Also WWE can use Stardom to get people to a certain level. And I know that the last time this was leaked, this was reported by The Observer, there was talk about how, Stardom wrestles a completely different style to WWE. So sending out NXT wrestlers on a tour in Stardom is completely pointless. And, I understand that sort of situation, that scenario, but anyone having reps in the ring is going to be better, is going to get better. I can see both sides of the coin for this. It hasn't started well in the NXT and All Japan partnership when you think who they could have sent over to challenge for the Triple Crown, and they've sent over, a relatively green Charlie Dempsey, who I'm sure is going to be fantastic in the future. How William Regal is his dad, but it's not the tastiest matchup. And I can see people taking that and going, oh my God, we're going to get Nia Jax versus Mayu in the main event of the Buntai or something like that. And I know that that's where people are going to go. And with WWE's track record of playing nicely with others, I can completely understand that. We are in a different time now. We are under different management. We're under different creativity in the WWE. That is untried and untested at the moment. It could be the greatest thing in the world. At the moment, obviously, it's still rumor. And at the moment, it's only WWE that is showing interest. If WWE is showing interest and are willing to put money into this partnership, I think Stardom will probably take it. I mean, especially if they get an Io. I mean, we've just seen Io in Japan with posing for a picture with Rossi and Mayu. I think we've got to give it time if it's a thing that is going to happen. Matt, what about you?
Brother, there's a lot of things I say, a lot of things I live by. And one of them is stop thinking about what could go wrong and start thinking what can go right. Everybody hits the panic button because it's the Fed, it's the evil empire. Folks, it's wrestling. Support what you love. Support it all. Like, I get it. We're all diehard Stardom fans. Stardom is number one for any majority of people on their lists. But I'm sure everybody that's listening to this show are 1A or 1B. But it's different management. This isn't Vince's company anymore. It's Triple H's. Triple H took over around the summertime, right when Io was getting ready to come back to Stardom. Had Vince still been in charge another 4 or 5 weeks, Io would probably sign back with Stardom. What did Triple H do? Brought her up to the main roster and brought her on SummerSlam. The very next SummerSlam. I understand. The very next SummerSlam, the one that just happened, what happens? Io cashes in her Money in the Bank and wins the WWE Women's Championship. She's very heavily featured and pushed on WWE TV, as well as Kyrie as well. I mean, she's pretty much been on every SmackDown show. And SmackDown, I know, because Raw was the one that started in the 90s. Raw is their flagship show, but SmackDown's on a bigger network. Such it's a bigger show. So Io is being shown, and we talk about it all the time on the podcast. Her segments are doing well over 2 million views per week, which is absolutely insane that they're doing those numbers. So Rossi's not going to go into this. We know Tony Khan has been so adamant that he wants to work with AEW. Or he wants AEW and Stardom to have a partnership, since they have a partnership with New Japan. New Japan is owned by Bushiroad, same company that owns Stardom. And Rossi just doesn't want anything to do with them because he doesn't trust what's going to happen. Rossi's not going to go into this having a Nia Jax come in and squash all of Queen's Quests in a 2-minute gauntlet match. It's not going to happen.
Injuring 4 of the 5 of them.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. He's not going to do anything that's going to put his company in jeopardy, that's going to put his wrestlers in jeopardy, which is the most important. And it's going to put his reputation, that he's had for over 30 years in jeopardy and look bad on the Bushiroad, especially the fact of, all the bad management decisions that happened. We covered that. I'm not going to get into it. I see this as a huge plus. Because, and again, you may say, oh, they're going to send a couple people from NXT over and it'd be good. Folks, I had no idea who Mariah May was this time last year. She debuted literally this time last year. I had no idea who she was. She caught my eye. I was like, that's somebody that's obviously going to catch camera's eye, but can she work? And she was able to work pretty good, and then better, and then better, and then better, and then better. And now she has this anticipation debut coming up on AEW TV coming sometime soon. Megan Bain was somebody else too at the end of the first night of the 5-star Grand Prix. I'm like, I have no idea who that is. Okay, she's pretty good. She's built up as a monster. Has this, building. She had a great match with Tam. She had these 2 great matches with Giulia. We'd love to see more Megan Bain in Stardom, regardless of what her contract is, or she goes to AEW. Even if she does go to AEW, I watch the AEW programming every week. I absolutely love it. I think they're doing great things over there. So if that's where she winds up, God bless her. If that's where she's happy and she makes the most money, God bless her. So there's 2 people that came to the Stardom roster from different countries. One from over your neck of the woods, Rob, in England, and one from my neck of the woods in America, and have absolutely blown it out of the water. And by their end of their respective runs, we're able to hang with the best of the best from Stardom. So you're telling me somebody that's training in NXT under a Shawn Michaels, a Matt Bloom, a Norman Smiley, a Robbie Brookside is not going to be able to come in and Stardom and pick it up in 3, 4, 5 months. You're nuts. Not only that, again, we've seen Io taking these pictures with Rossi. We've seen Io go to Japan quite a bit over the last 2 or 3 months. You don't think that if Rossi's going to broker this deal, that he's not going to get Io Shirai back for 1 match? I think you're completely insane. I think she would come back for at least 1 match. I really, really do. I think that this is only be a positive. Not only that, but then, hey, let's throw Azumi on in NXT. And I always use Azumi as like the go-to, just because, okay, I have Andy Header, my tag partner, my good buddy who I've known forever. He just got into Stardom a few months ago, and he's seen the New Japan, he's seen the All Japan, WWE, AEW. So it's like, that's my go-to. That's my go-to because there's nobody like Azumi. She's special. You put Azumi in front of that hot crowd at Full Sail and against anybody, they're like, what is this? They've never seen anybody like her. Obviously, you have the aura of Giulia and Utami and then the whole roster's like that. And then you're going to see, Ozumi does a 6-week tour of the WWE shows. And then you bring her, and then they're like, where is she? Like, she's on Stardom. She's on Stardom. She's on Stardom. Because if it's a working relationship, they're going to have to plug Stardom. And then she's going to take over eyes back over to Stardom. And no disrespect to anybody on that roster. But then they're going to watch Azumi, who's had, matches on NXT or Raw or SmackDown or whatever. And then she's going to come back and she's going to have matches teaming with Utami and Saya, matches with Starlight Kid, matches with Natsupoi. And they're going to be like, what is this? It's only to bring more eyes onto the product. So I can only see this as a good thing. I know everybody thinks abandon ship because it's the Fed, it's the evil empire. This is a different era. It really is. When has WWE match quality been this good? It's been a long time. It has been a long, long time. This is the best WWE's been in a while. And I grew up in the Attitude Era, and I understand like the boom and how crazy the shirts were all everywhere. Everywhere the shirts were in the malls and whatnot. You go back and watch some of those matches, they really don't hold up. It was more or less crash TV. No. It was good entertainment, but it was entertainment for that era where you could not take your 6 or 7-year-old brother or son or daughter to a 1998 taping of Raw. You just couldn't do it. You just couldn't do it. I'm lucky enough that was my teenage years. So it was like, that's
It's
what
okay
that's what I
watching
was
it,
living
yeah.
for. Yeah. So it's a completely different era. And now that, but Triple H, you have to understand, when Vince took over wrestling 40 some years ago, he put the territories out of business. Now that Triple H and it made wrestling what it is today. Like it or not, we would not be seeing these WrestleManias in front of 70, 80,000 people every year. It wouldn't be a global company. Wrestling exploded because of what Vince has been able to do over the past 40 years. Now Triple H is taking over. It's like, well, what can I do that my father-in-law has never done before? Maybe I'll bring back some of the territories. Doing the All Japan. He tried to get the NXT UK thing, which kind of was like hit or miss, working with All Japan. And Triple H loves pushing the women's division. He really does. Where's the best women's wrestling in the world? Stardom. So I can only see this as a good thing. I understand where people think like the ship is sinking, Stardom's going under in 6 months. Guys, it's not that way. It's not. Triple H just only wants the wrestling. Nobody's beating WWE. Nobody's beating them. They are such a juggernaut. No one's even close to them. Again, Vince took this over 41 years ago, with the exception of a year and a half that WCW dominated them in the ratings. Vince has been number one for over 40 years. His company, WWE, WWF. I can only see this as a good thing for Stardom. And I really hope it goes through for a myriad of reasons that I said, obviously to get more eyes on the product come after this deal's going 3-4 months. But the fact that there's a very real possibility that sometime in 2024, we have EO back in a Stardom ring. Rob, can you imagine? Maybe one of the first Patreon episodes we did was us booking our dream Stardom card. And I think my main event was EO, Mayu, and Kairi versus Azumi, Saya, and Utami. That is a real possibility if this deal goes through in the next 12 to 18 months.
It's certainly worth thinking. Again, at the moment, it is just rumor, conjecture, and Stardom haven't officially signed anything. I do agree with Misfit Wrestling Podcast, who said that part of me thinks that EO could have been there to sort of help talk about the deal with Rossi. It would make sense. I know that both of us have said that before, haven't we? I think as well, I put up Brad's comment before about the way that WWE treated the UK indie scene. And I do understand that. Obviously, living in the UK, WWE rinsed every company of their top talent to put into NXT UK, put a load of companies out of business, and then NXT UK sort of fell by the wayside. And a lot of that was to do with the pandemic. Completely agree with that. But, WWE have a lot of bad publicity that they've got to sort of get over, should I say, if they're working with other companies. Let's move on from this. The one last thing I want to say is, don't forget that WWE are openly trying to push or have a better, what's the word I'm looking for, have a better, sort of be seen to be treating foreigners better, or foreign talent better, and that seems to be part of the edict at the moment. You've got Io Shirai as women's champion. You've got Shinsuke Nakamura, who's being re-pushed at the top of the card. He's just had a World Heavyweight Championship program with Seth Rollins. He's in a storyline now with Cody Rhodes. So WWE are actively trying to sort of work through the terrible reputation they've got when booking foreigners that has plagued them since pretty much their entire run, if I'm being perfectly honest. Yeah, when you consider that before EO, the only sort of world champion that was Japanese was a big Hawaiian guy called Yokozuna. So that sort of goes some way to sort of showing the love that they gave them. Anyway, let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about Tam. Tam obviously came back at this show at Dream Queendom, decided to drop a promo that because I don't speak Japanese, I thought for all the world she'd retired, because she got really upset. Thankfully, she hasn't retired. She's ready to come back. And we've had a little bit of news. She did an interview with Kakuto Log just after her promo at Dream Queendom, which came out. And thank you to our friends Sky Wrestling and Shigeo on Twitter, who have managed to translate bits of it. Sky Wrestling says that Tam plans to be at the January 8th show in Anjo, her hometown. So we will see more of Tam. Hopefully she's going to be popping up at more shows and just sort of getting re-familiar with people. And then Shigeo has said that Tam aims to be making a comeback by Cherry Blossom season, which is late March, early April. So we're looking at post Cinderella time is when Tam is looking to make an appearance. And I said on the preview that we want Tam to be okay. That's the main thing. You know, when she's struggled as much as she's openly said she did after the injury, you know, she's contemplated retirement. She does say in this promo that it was the fans, the people in Stardom that helped bring her back. The fact that she won the Tokyo Sports Wrestling Award, it reignited a passion for it. But it's worth, you know, what do you think about this, Matt?
I'm happy she's back. I'm happy she's back. It did seem like some of the interviews she's been doing over the past week or two, it didn't seem like she was hinting at retirement. We mentioned last week, Rossi took her out for a nice lunch. Tam took pictures of the lunch. It looked very expensive, but kudos to you, Rossi, for taking her out to the nice place. Yeah, that was very well played. You know, I'm sure Rossi's no amateur. He knows how to treat some of the top stars. Took her out for a nice, expensive dinner, and probably was like, hey, what do you think about coming back? Yeah, she had a very emotional promo, and she watched. I mean, they kept showing her, especially the last two matches. So she was very intent on watching, especially those last two matches. She had a vested interest, and I'm sure she had a lot of like, oh, I can't wait to get back there. I can't wait to get back there because this crowd was a pretty rowdy crowd. You know, with over 3,000 people in Sumo Hall. So I didn't know that about the interview you just talked about. So she's probably, you know, maybe she'll come back at the Cinderella final, making that show even bigger. That's Giulia's last show. And then maybe that'll take the momentum going into All-Star Grand Queendom. And we may possibly see, if you're asking me how would I book that, to me, that's a slam dunk Aphrodite title defense against Meltier. I think that would be the way to go for there. But yeah, I would have her maybe return to that Cinderella final show to kind of bridge going into that big show where you're going to try to draw 4,500 to 5,000 people. But I'm glad she's back. She's creating some buzz. I like to see her back on some of these shows, maybe just coming in, you know, seconding, you know, Sayori. Obviously, Natsupoi looks like she's ready to make a return. And obviously with Yuna Mizumori as well. You know, I think that'd be something big for Yuna. Yuna, who's eating a lot of L's, but it's phenomenal in the ring. It'd be nice to see her maybe seconding her, kind of giving her advice, and maybe seeing Yuna picking up some wins in these quote unquote house shows. You can say, well, that's because now Tam is there, you know, to kind of maybe guide her where she should have zigged, she should have zagged. Now she's picking up some wins. I think that'd be really cool and show her, you know, as the leader of Cosmic Angels. Consider the fact that you're going to be without, you know, she's been out since October. If she's not coming back till March, you're out with a leader of your faction for, you know, the better part of 6 months. At least maybe she can kind of coach from the sidelines. And I think that's the whole entire reason why Sayori won the World of Stardom Championship, buddy. She believed in Tam and had the power of boy there, you know. So
honestly, you and that bloody Tam Road. Brad's also the same. At least
He's
we finally got an
too.
idea of a possible return time so that we can once again walk the Tam Road.
I walk all the time, buddy.
Venkin Bjorn says, obviously, that's if Natsupoi's back by then to have a Melty versus Aphrodite match. Again, I'm under the impression that, or what I'm led to believe, is that Natsupoi's injury, she hasn't had to have surgery on the neck. So I don't believe her or Utami had to have surgery on their necks. I believe they were just going to rehab them. So fingers crossed, Natsupoi will be okay sooner rather than later. Obviously, that's pure speculation on my part. I don't know what the injury was, but the fact that it didn't need surgery has to be a positive. I'd like to think that Meltier will be back by All-Star Grand Queendom. I'd also like to think that if I was booking Stardom, you know, you're coming off the worst glut of injuries I think you've ever seen in your company for ones that have happened simultaneously. Don't rush anyone back. If Tam said that her time frame is late March, early April, do you know what? Play it safe. Have her come back at All-Star Grand Queendom. It's Tam's return match. You know, like they've done with Mayu. For all intents and purposes, Mayu could have come back a week before. But she didn't. She came back at Dream Queendom, and it was sort of something that they could push as a major talking point, a major selling point of the pay-per-view. So why not do that with Tam? And if Natsupoi is fit, you could have a Meltier tag team match. You know, have Meltier versus, I don't know, Aphrodite as a non-title match or something like that. But don't rush anyone back. You've already started doing well in culling all of the pay-per-views up to April. We've been through it, and we're going to go through it again on this episode about how they are basically sticking to one pay-per-view a month. And that's what we have got up to April, the end of April. So don't then rush people back from injury. And I know the temptation is going to be there because especially if you are losing Giulia, that's a top talent.
Oh, yeah.
So I do understand that. But ultimately, let's hope that common sense prevails. We've got a couple more comments. So Neil Kapelka says, only the best restaurants for Rossi Vice. Rossi Vice shirts, by the way, as you can see, are available now on our merch store. They've come out extremely well. Make sure you go to the merch store. Get them now. They look incredible. And then here we go. So Misfit Wrestling Podcast says, Utami employee had cervical hernia injuries. I did know that. I didn't know the severity of them. So I don't really know how long they take to recover. I know they've got back-to-back pay-per-views on Jan 3rd and Jan 4th, but obviously we talked about that last episode where we said, yeah, but this is sort of tail off from the last regime. You know, venues are booked. You've paid deposits on venues. You can't just pull them. You can't just cancel them. Yeah, advertising, exactly. So, and the fact that they are doing something completely different for January 3rd completely makes sense. They've pulled the round robin format of the Triangle Derby, all makes sense. What else have we got? I think that is everything for now that I want to talk about, but I do just briefly want to talk about two more things before we head into our reviews of the two shows. The first of which is that the Stardom Cast 4th annual end of year awards are ready to go. As soon as this stream ends, they are going to be up and live. There will be a link in the description of this video. There'll be a link in the podcast. And then there will also be a link on Twitter pinned and all those sorts of things. You can find them. As before, there are 8 categories. I'll quickly go through those categories. Now, we've got who's the wrestler of the year, and you can choose from anyone on the roster. Now, within reason. Obviously, Giulia Yokota is not on here, and neither is Dump Matsumoto. If they've only wrestled 1 or 2 matches, they're not on here. I'm extremely sorry about that. Billiken Death isn't on here. Fukigen Death is, because she is the uncrowned wrestler of the year. Same with Most Improved. And then we have got our match of the year. Okay, so these are the matches that have been picked. Okay, and I'm sure that people in the comments will absolutely rinse me because I'll have forgotten a really obvious match. But this took me ages, so behave. Right, so here we go. We've got Mayu versus Mercedes Moné from All-Star Grand Queendom, Mina versus Saya from All-Star Grand Queendom, Tam versus Giulia from All-Star Grand Queendom. Match of the year, is worth pointing out, is just singles matches. Okay, it's not tags. We've got a separate one for tags.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because Rob sent me the list about an hour before recording. He said, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm looking, I was like, oh, he doesn't have that Queen's Quest cage match on there. And I was like, hold on, it's the next thing. So I like how Rob broke it up. He has tag match, like multi-person matches and singles matches. So you can have your cake and eat it too, folks.
There you go. So we've also got Mirai versus Sioriano 2, Mirai versus Sioriano 1, Micah versus Suzu Suzuki from Dream Queendom, Giulia versus Suzu Suzuki from Supreme Fight, Saya Kamitani versus Suzuki from Triangle Derby 1. I've just seen that someone has commented on that. So yes, that one is in there because it is one of the best matches in wrestling in 2023, in my humble opinion. Azumi versus Starlight Kid from that same show. Mirai versus Momo Watanabe, Nagoya Golden Fight. Micah versus Suzu Suzuki from the 5-star Grand Prix. Suzu Suzuki versus Syuri for the 5-star Grand Prix. I'm only whizzing through these. Obviously, you can read these at your own leisure when you are voting. We've also got Natsupoi versus Mina from Fukuoka Goddess Legend, Tam versus Mina from Flashing Champions, Chihiro Hashimoto versus Syuri from All-Star Grand Queendom. Seems like ages ago, that show. Hazuki versus Suzu Suzuki from Nagoya Big Winter, Azumi versus Giulia from Nagoya Big Winter, Mayu versus Tam from the 5-star, Kairi versus Mercedes Moné. No, that's technically a New Japan match, but Yeah. Mercedes versus Suzuki versus Azumi from Sakura Genesis. Mayu Iwatani versus Utami from Stardom X Stardom. Natsupoi versus Shiori from the five-star Grand Prix. Giulia versus Sioriano from the five-star Grand Prix. Hazuki versus Mayu for the five-star Grand Prix. And then Mirai versus Tam Nakano from Midsummer Champions 2023, which I will be perfectly honest, Matt, and this is horrible, but I forgot even happened. In terms of the tag match of the year, slightly fewer matches, but Queen's Quest versus a Wedder cage match. Calm yourself down, Matt. There you go. 7 Kairi versus Waka Tsukiyama and Tam Nakano from New Blood Premium. Divine Kingdom versus Aphrodite from Nagoya Big Winter. Giulia and Suzu Suzuki versus Micah and Utami from Dream Tag Festival, which is another show I forgot happened, but actually the tag matches on that show were really good. Another one, Mayu and Saki Kashima versus Starlight and Azumi. Mei Seira and Suzu Suzuki versus Natsupoi and Sioriano from Night 14 of the 5-star Grand Prix. Aphrodite versus Momo Watanabe and Natsuka Tora from Dream Queendom, which we're going to talk about. Jaguar Yokota, Momo Nakanishi and Nanai Takahashi versus Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe and Yu from the Midsummer Fez show. The first of the generational struggle matches, Giulia, Mayu, Tam and Sayori versus Utami, Saya, Suzu, Suzuki and Micah. The Barry Bombers versus Restart from Flashing Champions. Mayu, Hazuki, Koguma versus Giulia, Tekla and Micah from the Golden Week Fight Tour, the one where Mayu jumps off the bus. Prominence versus Restart from All-Star Grand Queendom. ALK versus My Himi in Himika's last My Himi match. Prominence versus Utami, Saya and Azumi from the Cinderella Tournament Night 3. Great match. Really good match that gets buried. Prominence versus Shiori, Mirai and Amisori from the Triangle Derby finals. Micah and Utami versus Shiori and Mayu Iwatani, which, if you remember, was a match that they cobbled together, but I can't remember why. There was a reason that they sort of put this dream tag match together, but that was from Triangle Derby 1 in Nagoya. And then finally, you've got My Himi versus 7-Up from Supreme Fight 2023. You've got a whole list of shows to choose from. Most of the pay-per-views are on there. I'm not going to go through all of them. And then shorter categories have also got Feud of the Year, which goes like this. Giulia versus Tam. Queen's Quest versus Uedatai, Suzu Suzuki versus Micah, Giulia versus Ghosts of Ice Ribbon Past, Mina Shirakawa versus Tam Nakano, Saya Kamatani versus Hazuki, Sioriano versus Natsupoi, Waka Tsukiyama versus Nanai Takahashi, and then the big two for me are Stardom versus Injuries and Waka Tsukiyama versus the Cosmic Angels Dance. I feel like those are two big feuds from Stardom this year. And I know this one for me is really important, the moment of the year. Because there's so many people focusing on the negatives this year, it's important to remember that actually Stardom have had some banging moments this year. So the moments are Stardom pulling their biggest house at Yokohama Arena, Mercedes Moné debuts in Stardom, Mayu Iwatani wins the IWGP Women's Championship, Tam becomes a double champion, Mirai wins back-to-back Cinderella tournaments, Suzu Suzuki wins the 5-star, Himika retires from wrestling, Mirai wins the Wonder of Stardom Championship, Azumi defeats Giulia in under a minute in the 5-star Grand Prix, the debut of the Triangle Derby tournament, Kairi brings Sayoriano into Stardom, IWGP Women's Championship is defended at the Tokyo Dome. Don't, Matt. Don't comment on it.
I'm in a really good mood today, brother. Don't you worry about it. Not going to sway me.
Sioriano winning the Wonder of Stardom Championship, and then obviously Micah winning the red belt as well, and then just voting for your favorite faction. So again, those will all be live. Get your votes in. They will close on January the 4th, Tokyo Dome Day. And we'll be going through those results and giving our picks as well on those times. So with that being said, let's kick into our reviews, because we've been going an hour, Matt, and we haven't actually talked about any of the wrestling. We probably should. So we're going to start with our review of Year-End Climax 2023 from Christmas Eve from Korakuen Hall, Tokyo. 765 people in attendance. It's the second lowest Korakuen Hall attendance for Stardom this year. I believe they've run it 14 times. This is the second lowest. Again, I'm not sure how much of an impact being on Christmas Eve will have, or if it's just that people weren't into the card, or if it's the holidays. I don't know. But there we are. On this card, the results are as follows. Singles match, Mei Seira defeats Yuzuki in 8 minutes and 36 seconds with a drop kick. Hanan defeats Hanako with the Hanan special in 6 minutes and 12 seconds. The Donna Del Mondo team of Tekla and Mei Sakurai defeated the Stars team of Hazuki and Saya Ida, with Mei Sakurai defeating Saya Ida.
But she didn't do it with a double drop.
Hashtag pray for Saya. With the Maipan roll in 9 minutes and 22 seconds. We had a three-way match then. Saki Kashima defeated Yuna Mizumori and Mina Shirakawa with the Kishikasai in 6 minutes and 56 seconds, pinning Yuna Mizumori after Mina did all the work in true Saki Kashima style, because she's fantastic. We then had 7-Up defeating Godzai, Nanai Takahashi, and Yu defeating Syuri and Amisori, because of course they did. Nanai Takahashi pinning Amisori with the Nanaraka in 13 minutes and 31 seconds, because of course she did. 12-woman elimination tag match. Queen's Quest defeat the Weather Tie. Tomi Hayashishita, Sei Kamatani, Azumi Lady C, Hina, and Miyo Amasaki defeated the Weather Tie team of Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, Rino Ruaka, and Fukigen Death. Saya Kamatani last eliminating Momo Watanabe with a Frankensteiner over the top rope in 19 minutes and 56 seconds. And then in our main event, 6-woman tag team match, Suzu Suzuki, Megan Bayne, and Saori Anou defeated Giulia, Maika, and Mirai, with Megan Bayne pinning Giulia in 21 minutes and 17 seconds with the F5. And that was where I wanted to start with this match, because the main event was fantastic for a start, as was the semi-main as well. And I know you've just put your notes in order, and I've completely screwed up that order. I apologize. But I don't think Giulia has eaten an actual pinfall since the 5-star Grand Prix. Giulia does not give up pinfalls. So for Megan Bayne to pin her clean here was a real signal of intent. It did cement the fact that she wasn't beating Giulia at the pay-per-view, admittedly. But Giulia doesn't eat pay-per-views. Not even in build-ups does she eat pay-per-views and eat pins, in 6-woman tags and 8-woman tags. So to have Megan Bayne pin her clear and dominate her in the way she did during this match was really, really quite impressive, Matt.
Yeah, but how genius and easy is the booking to follow? Korakuen Hall, regardless, they drew it under 800 people. It's a great show, hot crowd. You're 5 days away from your championship match. Megan Bayne defeats Giulia with the F5 right in the middle of the ring, clean as a whistle, gets the promo time. It's your main event. So now you have Giulia as the champion, as the underdog. What did Giulia do today? 2 Northern Lights bomb and choked out Megan Bayne. So by this loss here, the middle of famed Korakuen Hall, it makes Giulia, just build Giulia up more for that match, which was a great match, which we'll get into, and then getting the win. It's simple booking. Pro wrestling can be so simple sometimes. It really, really can. And I'll get into it when we talk about the psychology of that Aphrodite versus XL match. But genius booking, and really what this match was is they had great tag work. It was great chemistry. I liked how it started with like Giulia and Megan Bayne went this way, and then Maika and Suzu Suzuki went this way, and then Mirai and Saori Anou, they shook hands and they wrestled. So you have a brawl on this side, a brawl on that side, and then you have these 2 fantastic wrestlers going. So no matter which way you look, you're going to be entertained. And I thought this was great. And really what this was, it's to sell more tickets, sell more pay-per-views, sell more subscriptions to Stardom World. And they did it because this match was great. This show was pretty solid, but these last 3 matches were incredible. And I think I texted you. I said, hey, man, I know you're getting up early to watch the pay-per-view. You get time, make sure you watch these last 2 matches because they will make the pay-per-view even more intense. And I don't know if you watched the entire clip, because I know sometimes with a few minutes left, I'll shut it off. But after the match was over, Mike and Suzu Suzuki brawled all the way to the back in Korakuen Hall and all the way down the steps. So it's like we're really putting emphasis on this main event, which was phenomenal. And they did a great job building this match up, considering the fact it was probably supposed to be Saya and Tam. I think that was the original plan for the main event of the show that we just watched, back in the summer. But Yeah, Giulia putting over, it's a rarity. It's very rare, which is why we're taking time on the podcast to talk about it. It's to build her opponent, Megan Bayne, up. Because if Megan Bayne is here and Giulia beats her, well, Giulia's here. But because of what Giulia did in this match and how great Megan Bayne is, now Megan Bayne is here. But what did Giulia just do? Giulia just beat Megan Bayne. So now Giulia, you can't see my hands, but you know where I'm going. Now Giulia's even bigger and better because she defeated the person that beat her 5 days ago. She overcame the person that beat her. She basically slayed the dragon. And folks, wrestling can be that simple. It really, really can. I thought it was genius booking for what was a phenomenal match.
Yeah, and I think as well, Giulia has made Megan Bayne, because you think about the Megan Bayne that debuted at the 5-star, had that match with Tam, which was good, but it was just good. And you sort of had the impression that Megan Bayne was going to be that flash in the pan. Okay, she's a monster. She's already been beaten. What are you going to do now with her? And actually, I think she's one of the success stories of this year, because from not only was she getting organic support here, she was also getting really good support at the pay-per-view, and she was doing a job that well that the usually imperious Giulia was getting crowd chants, which, you know, just it goes to show that both women did a fantastic job. And if you look at all of Megan Bayne's sort of pay-per-view matches, she had a great match with Tam, had an even better one when she tagged with Micah against Aphrodite. Thought that was really good. They kept her strong by it being via miscommunication that she got pinned. And then here it took 2 Northern Lights bombs and a physical choking out for her to lose. So even though, yes, Giulia has climbed that mountain here, and yes, they did a fantastic job in this build-up tag, which is exactly what these build-up tags should be used for, I think Megan Bayne has actually come out of that feud the better, because again, she got so much support as she left the ring before the next challenge came in for Giulia. I think they did a fantastic job with that. Soriano and Mirai, we knew that they were going to have a fantastic match. They continue to just do what they do. You got Mirai, who hits hard, and Soriano, who doesn't have a spine, apparently. And then you've got Micah and Suzuki, who just went any sort of wrestling and just wrestled with vitriolic hatred up into the crowd, just beat the living hell out of each other, and it was fantastic. And those different dynamics made this match incredibly enjoyable. And yes, I know that there wasn't title matches on this Corrigan, and that's something that is a bugbear of mine, especially if you are, you know, regular listeners to the podcast. You know that I'm very much of the opinion they should be making Corrigan Hall special, especially year-end Climax, which for so many years was such a huge show on Stardom's calendar, and it's sort of fallen off the last couple of years with the advent of pay-per-views in the Stardom calendar. But stuff like this, you know, building this was a good card, even if it didn't have any titles on. And I know that we're going to talk about the 12-woman elimination match, which was also incredibly entertaining and actually had quite a few little story points that we can go into in a moment. But before we go into that 12-woman tag, what else on this card match should people be checking out?
Watch the 7-Up Nanai Takahashi and Yu versus Sherry and Ami Sourei. That was really, really good. They did a great job, even though, and again, they built you and not you, well, maybe you, Rob. They built up Ami very good in the match, only to beat her. Again, if they don't do anything, if they're not selling, or if they're not putting this over, who do they beat? They didn't beat anybody, but they did a great job making Ami look good. Sherry just comes there just blistering kicks with Nanai and Ami Sourei. Again, the first few matches, you know, they were good, they were fun, they were entertaining. But if you're pressed for time, definitely just go watch the final 3 matches. You know, the God's Eye team again of Ami and Sherry versus 7-Up, and the elimination match with QQ versus Oedo Tai in the main event we just talked about. But I really, really enjoyed that tag match.
Yeah, and obviously the 3-way was really good fun as well. And Venken Bjorn says, Saki Kashima is smart. Let the rookies do the work, reap the rewards. Yeah, completely agree. Saki Kashima is fantastic. I love the fact that even though she's no longer in a Oedo Tai, she hasn't forgone that side of her wrestling just because she's part of God's Eye. Yeah. I love it. It's so good. And then she goes into interviews and says that she wrestles clean. She's so good. But because and I've said this before, it's not because she tries too hard. She's effortlessly funny. And the way that, you know, we're going to talk about it in the Dream Queendom review, she just refused to get in the ring and was posing on the side of the ring waiting for everyone else to wrestle. It was, she's great. She's fantastic. We do not deserve Saki Kashima. This Queen's Quest versus Ueda time match then was another really, really good build-up of the feud there. And a couple of points I wanted to bring up. Obviously, Saya Kamitani eliminating Momo Watanabe. Huge, really big for Saya. But obviously, Miyu Amasaki eliminating Rina as well, which sort of points to the fact that Miyu Amasaki might be the next challenger for Rina's future belt. And if that is a match they are doing, especially with how much they seem to be pushing Miyu at the moment, because Miyu seems to be getting a lot of pinfalls, it wouldn't surprise me if Miyu actually takes the belt off Rina. And I know that we are of the opinion that Hina should hold it as well, because we do feel quite sorry for her, because she does seem to be left out quite a lot. I quite like the idea of Miyu Amasaki as champion. Now, I know that she had that injury that sort of derailed her progress a little bit, but recently, I think she's really, really, really improved. Really improved. And we saw in the opener from today's pay-per-view, which, by the way, what an opener. That's what I want at the start of every pay-per-view. Sod these rumbles off. No, these sorts of matches. I mean, we're blessed with fantastic rookies in this class, but that's beside the point. Miyu Amasaki was interested in leading that match. And I think that goes some way to showing the level of growth that she's had over the last couple of months, certainly. Also, it's worth noting that Fukin Death was almost the winner because, and I cannot stress enough, it's a multi-woman match. Fukiken Death does well in multi-women matches. She does, man. She does. But this was, in all seriousness, a very, very, very good, entertaining match, Matt.
Yeah, you mentioned, I may as well mention it now, then we'll hold it for the for the Dream Queendom preview. Is that yeah, nobody can really kick out of the O'Connor role, but now all of a sudden somebody today learned how to crack the code, and we'll get into it. We'll hold that thought.
Yeah.
Oh, crack the code, did she?
Oh, did she?
But
howdy.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Yeah, this was really good. I never get tired of seeing these Queen's Quest versus Oedo type matches. And again, I know Tommy going into this tag match that we saw today was like, I want to put this behind me. And they put the exclamation point on it. And again, we'll get into that later. This was really good stuff back and forth, literally to the point where you didn't know where they were going to go with it. Because I figured, well, maybe they'll have a Oedo tie win here, because I had a good feeling that QQ were going to come out of the tag match. But then it's just really to kind of just build up, build up Utami a little bit more, obviously, her and Saya coming back. But yeah, the Miyu pinning Rina thing, it sets up for that match. And Rina, who's always been pretty good, and then ever since winning the future belt, we've seen kind of different level of her. Like, it's like, okay, here's another one, very young teenager, very, very good. And just like, and I think Hina, and we'll get into her, I thought Hina was the MVP of her match today. I really, really did. Maybe that's a match somewhere down the line, or maybe Miyu takes the belt and we have a Miyu versus Hina match. I got no problem with that. But you have Rina, who's gotten really good over the last 6 months, and Miyu is having really good over the last 6 months. You don't necessarily need to put that match on a New Blood show. Put that on a Corkin show. Put it on, one of these random, put them on a KBS All show. You can put that really anywhere. It's got proper build up. Give that thing 10, 12 minutes. Let those two wrestlers go out there and do and show why Stardom is such a loaded roster. And this way you have somebody, Rina, who's kind of lower on the card, of Oedo Tai, and Miyu, who's kind of lower on the card with Queen's Quest, and show them like, hey, in a year or so, you can push me up somewhere where maybe I can get a little higher on the card, get some of those main events or semi-main events, and they can be trusted. But yeah, Miyu's been great. Rina's been great. I want to see that for the future of Stardom Championship. Give it 10, 11, 12 minutes and just, let them do what they need to do and go show everybody why they are the future of Stardom.
Yeah, I've said before about how there should be sort of title matches that are sort of exclusively Korakuen, and Plug Pedro said with one less pay-per-view, most likely Korakuen should be bigger. Yeah. Well, fingers crossed.
Great idea, buddy. Yeah.
And I think as well, the art, I keep coming back to that Cosmic Angels run in 2021 with the Artist of Stardom belts, where they were almost exclusively defended in the main event of Korakuen Hall shows. And it gave the Korakuen Hall shows meaning, and that's what I want. But that aside, don't forget there was no Future of Stardom Championship defense at New Blood 12. Rina and Ruaka were in a sort of a throwaway tag match in the middle of the card. And it was the New Blood tag titles that main evented. Great match, by the way. Wingori versus the Raiwa Tokyo Towers. But there was no future belt thing there. So yeah, absolutely. Throw it on a KBS Hall show. Throw it on a Korakuen. Do something with it. That's not an issue. And especially with all these rookies coming in as well, and the caliber of the rookies as well. It makes for an exciting division. And I feel like Stardom have been waiting for an influx of talent for that Future of Stardom division, because once Rina dropped the belt, there was literally Hina, and that was it. Because there was literally no one. So obviously Aya Sakura's injured. Hanako was in that division. I think Momo Kogo might just still qualify. Miyu Amasaki just might still qualify. But now that we've had these rookies in, it's all good. It's all good.
Rob, it's wrestling. You can bend the rules. Just put it on Mayu.
True. Well, if Fuki Can Death can challenge the SWA belt because she is, and I quote, an alien, then we can have a slight change in the future rules.
Billie Can Death's only wrestled 1 or 2 matches, so technically she's a rookie.
Stop it.
You brought it up, brother. You brought it up. I'm just going with you. I'm walking to Tam Road with you.
You are. And Venkan actually says, I just wonder sometimes if Stardom wants to sign Haruka Umasaki because they bought her in a lot. Haruka Umasaki is great. Haruka Umasaki is great when she is herself. Karma was a failed experiment, which it seems that they've canned, which I'm quite happy about, because there's no need for someone who I believe is 20. There's no need for her to have a alter ego. Just let her wrestle as herself, and she's proved on multiple occasions wherever she's wrestled, in Diana or wherever, that she is a very, very, very good wrestler. So if Stardom are trying to get Haruka Umasaki, brilliant. I am all for that. I'm sure. I think it's Diana she's signed with. I'm sure they'll probably have something to say about that, but that's by the by. Anything else you want to say about this elimination tag match, Matt, before we kick straight into this Dream Queendom review?
Sai Kamatani. I'm going to tone down my style. Now, I know you're not doing the 450. She did a Hurricanrana with her back towards the crowd.
It was flawless as well. Flawless. It was so well executed.
And credit to Momo Watanabe for taking that bump perfectly. When you have something like that, and we saw it in the main event of this pay-per-view where they did like the Rana spot through a table where it didn't come off 100%, but whatever. Where this was just absolutely perfect. So obviously Sai is doing the majority of the work, but you have to trust your partner. So good on Momo for catching, timing, and going over the rope. So a great elimination match. We've seen a lot of them over the past few months. I like it when they throw them in there because it's something different. It's something like where it's like, don't blink, don't look at your phone, don't, make sure the cat's not jumping on the Christmas tree. That's happened to me a lot this year. But because you have to watch it, you don't know who's going to get eliminated or who's going over the top rope. And they do a great job when they have your main eventers, your Giulias, your Tommies, your Mayus in these matches where they're going over the top rope. And it's like, okay, well, who's left? And the fact that there's a chance that Fukin Death could have come away here as the victor, it really makes you think like who's going to be your sole survivor. So I thought it was really good, very well done. Just kind of quick Stardom scales. The Amisori Shiri versus 7-Up match, I had that at 4 stars. This elimination match, I had 3 3/4. In the main event, I had 4 1/4 stars. I thought the main event, just based on how intense it was in the heat in Korakuen Hall, I had it at 4 stars, but I bumped it up to 4 1/4. But no, all in all, another great Korakuen show from Stardom.
That's Japanese tables. They never truly break, says Venkan Bjorn. Well, it is worth knowing that we know exactly how hard Japanese wood is, my friend. And with that bombshell, we move on to Dream Queendom. Dream Queendom, which of course has just happened. I do encourage, if you haven't already seen the pay-per-view, don't listen to the review because obviously there's going to be spoilers. This is your warning. But in all seriousness, for me, this pay-per-view needed to be good. It needed to be good. I feel like with everything that's gone on, the confusion backstage, the upheaval backstage in Bushi Road fight, and with, sort of a lot of discontent from quite a few people, and not just, I'm not talking about fans, I'm talking about wrestlers. Mayu's spoken out about it, Giulia's spoken out about it, and with a lot of emphasis being put on trying to put things right, this pay-per-view needed to hit. And it did. It did. It was a fantastic show. A really, really good show. One of Stardom's shows of the year, if not the show of the year. For me, at least, is between this and All-Star Grand Queendom. There wasn't a single match on this card, including an opener that had 4 rookies in it, that I would ask or encourage anyone to skip. The entire show, considering it's like a pay-per-view, it was done in 4 hours, which was really quite impressive. There didn't seem to be any sort of preamble or chat or anything like that from the Japanese commentary team. We were straight into that main event, that opening match, that opening 6-woman. So, yeah, it was a great, great pay-per-view, and we're obviously going to be talking and breaking it down a little bit at a time. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about, Matt, is obviously 29th of the 12th, 2023, this morning, Dream Queendom 2023, Ryogoku Kokugikan, Tokyo.
Nailed it.
Thank you. 3,063 people in attendance. Now, we're putting a lot of stall in attendances, and I know we talk about attendances. It's worth noting that I know people will go, oh, well, it's nothing on last year where I think they drew 3,800. And, you know, I know that people were sort of hoping for 4,000 and things like that. So I just wanted to read out a couple of numbers. Okay. For a start, this outdrew the first Dream Queendom only by about 30 people. In fact, this one drew 3,063. 2021's Dream Queendom drew 3,039. So it did outdraw that show. Now, that might be inflation. I don't know, but it did look pretty full in the show. And I know that Velkage was there, so he might be able to tell us whether it was that or whether it was paid. But I've got a feeling it was probably around that number. But that is also the 5th highest drawing Stardom show, single promoted, so not counting historic crossover. That's the 5th highest attended Stardom sole promoted show. And if you are of the very popular belief that the Champion Fiesta Ryogoku Cinderella in 2013 was not the 5,500 people that they advertised and was more like 2,000, then it is actually the 4th largest show in Stardom history. So yes, it is significantly less than the 3,808 people they drew last year, but Stardom was coming off an absolutely blistering year in 2022. 2023 has been a rough year for Stardom, undoubtedly, especially the second half. The first half was okay. The second half was a little bit rough with injuries and whatever. But I feel like we've started this new era. We're going into 2024, this turning of the page, in the best possible way. We have a new red belt champion. We have a new white belt champion. Mayu's back. Starlight Kid's back. Aphrodite are back. Tam is coming back. Natsupoi is coming back. Everything clicked. Everything that needed to click in this show clicked. And that's so, so, so important, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a phenomenal show. And if you look at, in my opinion, I mean, maybe it's recency biased, as far as complete shows, this was the best of the Dream Queendoms. As far as complete show. And the 1 and 2 were really good. Obviously, 1 is known for that 1-2 punch with Saya versus Tam and then Sherry versus Utami. The one from last year was a solid show, but that main event was Sherry versus Giulia, which I have gone on and on about how great that match was.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Like, those are probably like the best matches if you're going to pair them up. But from start to finish, this was the best show. They did over 3,000. I know I thought they probably would have done 3,300, 3,400. Regardless, this is what they needed to do. And considering the fact of how loud that crowd was at the very end of the 1, 2, 3, they were into everything. They were into everything. They were a little bit burnt out after the tag title match, but Giulia, and we'll get into Giulia and Megan Bay, did a great job getting them back. Everybody looked like a star on the show. Everything was great. I messaged you after that 8-person tag match where I thought they were going to play the hits, and by no means did they. I mean, when I tell you what my star rating is, I know there's going to be a whole bunch of people over in the comment section are going to be like, Matt, you're absolutely nuts, because I thought everything over-delivered. And the fact that they had this rookie match, not only rookie match, it's one thing if you have a singles match or a tag match where it's like you don't have too many moving parts. You have 6 people in the match. You have a lot of moving parts. You need to have everybody get something in, make it mean sense, and then get in, get out, and then, get the crowd hyped for the next match. And that's exactly what they did here. That's exactly what they did here. Not only that, but then it's leading into Tam coming back. So you don't want to have him flat for your big, your big star coming back, for her promo. But this was a phenomenal show. I advise everybody to go out. I mean, I know last night Andy Header was texting me. And he said, how soon does this come on Stardom World? I said, it's usually 2 or 3 days. But I was like, buddy, you're going to want to pay the $33 for the show. You really, really are. And then obviously there was some kerfuffle with the main event. And then I text him. I said, hey, you don't have to wait 3 days because here's what Stardom did. He's like, that's phenomenal. But I don't see anybody that paid their $33 or, depending on what, currency that you use, that didn't get their money's worth, because this was a phenomenal show. If I was in Sumo Hall and I paid $70, $80 for a ticket somewhere in the front, I would have got more than my money's worth, because this was a great show. And you mentioned this is one of your shows of the year for Stardom. This is one of my shows of the year for all of wrestling. I even put something out on Twitter earlier today that now I watch all of WWE, I watch all of AEW, I watch a majority of New Japan. No, I watch a lot of wrestling. But as we get to the end of the year and as many bumps in the road Stardom has, like I'm looking at the shows of the year as I'm starting to put together that list, and people asking me, hey, here's what my list is. It's subjective. You can like it. My 4 shows of the year, Robin, just as wrestling, not just Stardom and wrestling. Number 1, All-Star Grand Queendom. Number 2, Triangle Derby Finals. Number 3, this show. And number 4, the first night of the 5-Star Grand Prix. So Stardom, for all the bumps in the road and all the negativity and this or that, they probably have 3 or 4 of the best shows of the year in all of wrestling. And this was a great way for them to end this year. And I'm so looking forward to what they do in 2024.
Yeah, and I think you've hit the nail on the head with the consistency. The consistency of this show was brilliant. And, I've already said there's not one match that I would say, you can skip that match. It's a skippable match. Even, the 4-way tag was fun. It was short and fun, and that's exactly what it needed to be. I think it was Armani Shoe Exchange who said, I don't want any more of these rumbles now. I completely agree. Stick them in a multi-woman tag and just let them go for it, because we saw 4 very, very talented rookies do very, very well in that situation. And I'm going to get the negative out of the way now. Yes, the pay-per-view feed crashed during the main event, which was the match that significant numbers, should I say, of fans actually wanted to tune in for. These things happen. It's extremely inopportune and annoying, but ultimately these things happen. And it's when things like that happen, it's how the company responds. So, okay, the pay-per-view feed is down. What do we do? Okay, do we blanket ignore it? Do we fight tooth and nail to try and get it back on? What do we do? And ultimately Stardom said, right, we messed up. Whatever the reason was, I don't know if there is an official reason or whether it was just cut off by accident. I don't know. But ultimately Stardom went, right, we're really sorry, for those people that paid. Here you go. Here are both matches in full on YouTube. Go and watch them. And, to me, that's the most they could do. So the quickness with which they responded, how they responded, yes. Ultimately, I was quite lucky because I still managed to see the main event's conclusion. Had I missed that from the pay-per-view, I might still be quite annoyed. But because they did rectify it to the extent that they could. So I'm willing to let them have a pass for that. Yes, the pay-per-view messed up. Yes, it wasn't great timing. But ultimately, I still saw a fantastic main event match. And to me, it didn't ruin an A-star show.
Two things, and we'll put this thing to rest. Now, Rob, if they would have told you the night before this show, Micah has COVID, the main event is off, the new name, we're bumping everything up, the new main event is Seoriano versus Mirai, would you have gotten your money's worth from this show?
Retrospectively, yes.
Okay, so
would I have thought that at the time? No, I'd have felt shortchanged. However, knowing what I know now, having seen the matches, no, I wouldn't.
Here's something else too. We get a lot. I know you're upset. There's a lot of angry people that woke up early to kind of like really nitpick some of the small things, and I'm like, really?
Dude,
Like,
it's people that wake up early, I tell you.
I'm up early. I'm all happy-go-lucky. I got up. I had my alarm set for 2:45. I got up at 2:30. I had Ace. My cat was outside the door. He's like, "Oh, we're ready to play." I'm like, "Let's go. We're gonna watch some Stardom." But a lot of people were like, "They need to give our money back. We need a refund. We need a refund." Timeout. I understand your frustration, right? And I don't respond. I had so many people tweeting at me, so many negative things. And folks, I'm letting you know right now, if you tweet at me something negative, I will not respond. If you want to have a conversation about something, great. There's two reasons why I don't respond. One, I don't have time in my life for any negativity. And two, I graduated high school over 20 years ago. I don't need it. You want to have a conversation with something? Great. People are yelling and screaming at me that I love the tag match, even though Saya was a half a second late at breaking up a fall. I'll get into that. You guys are nuts. The fact that people are telling me I want a refund, the free YouTube thing isn't good enough. You do realize this isn't on anybody's fault. It just happened. If they give everybody a refund, that comes out of Micah's pocket, Suzuki's pocket, Hazuki's pocket, Mayu's pocket. Is it fair to them to take money out of their pocket for a show that everybody built up? I mean, we talked about the core. They built up the show, and when everybody went out and gave it 110%, would you feel right because you wanted your $30 back or whatever you paid, taking money out of their pocket for something that they rectified literally 15, 20 minutes later? That's all I'm going to say.
It was really quick as well. It wasn't like we weren't waiting hours for these matches to be uploaded to YouTube. Credit to the Stardom team because they got them straight up on YouTube. So yeah, completely agree. Again, it's the speed with which they sorted it. Had they not sorted it, and had we been sitting here now, still missing the middle of that main event, we might be having a different conversation. But, Stardom took a bad situation and made the best that they could out of it. And ultimately, it's the last thing I'm going to say on it, because ultimately the pay-per-view was great, was really good fun, not one match disappointed. And again, we are heading into 2024 for the first time in what seems like months with a clear direction, a really exciting schedule. All of the fat has been cut in terms of the schedule. I am down for Stardom in 2024.
You should do a podcast about it, buddy. You seem so ready to go. Comments. Let Rob know you want Rob to do a podcast about Stardom 2024. Let's see it.
I'm not sure. I know Plug Pedro would rather just see you on your own.
Wow, he's bitter.
I am bitter. He told you he loved you. Right. Anyway, let's go through these matches then. I know I ordinarily go through all the matches and we discuss them, but we'll go through them one by one. We opened with a 6-woman tag match. Miyu Amasaki, Azusa Inaba, and Yuzuki defeating the team of Hanako, Rani Yagama, and Sayaka Kurora, with Yuzuki getting her first career pinfall over Sayaka Kurora with the rolling arrow.
That's called? Oh, I got to write that. I love it.
No, sorry, I'm just laughing at Plug Pedro who says, "You're both beautiful, shut up." Yeah, Yuzuki pinned Sayaka Kurora with the rolling arrow in 7 minutes and 1 second. It's basically a crucifix pin, but the Stardom website, I believe, has it listed as the rolling arrow. So there you go. I couldn't agree more with Plug Pedro's sentiment when he says this match rocked. Completely agree. You would not believe that Rani Yagami, and Sayaka Kurora had one match each before this match. The talent on show for quote-unquote rookies in this show. The match was wrestled at a brilliant pace. Nobody missed a step. You'd got rookies trying stuff that they had no right trying. You'd got Sayaka Kurora at one point did a springboard arm drag. It's like, hang on, you've had one match. You shouldn't be doing this. Everything felt really, really, really cohesive. And the team, especially of Hanako, Yagami, and Kurora, they gelled really, really well. And I don't know if it's because they were three very different wrestlers. You got Hanako, who's your Himika sort of power. You've got Rani Yagami, who focuses more on the strikes and the sort of submission base of wrestling. She's doing snapmare kicks with Azusa Inaba, who, by the way, is 16. She is offensively good at wrestling. 16 years old, that girl is. Sign her up immediately.
With her sister.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I completely agree with Plug Pedro. This match exceeded any possible expectations. I thought Miyu Amasaki did a fantastic job of leading the match. I thought her and Hanako had really good chemistry when they were fighting. You had Miyu Amasaki converting a powerbomb into a DDT, which was really cool. She did really well. And my actual only surprise really was that it was Yuzuki that they gave the pinfall to. Ultimately, really, really, really enjoyable match. I think Venkin says props to their trainer. I hope he gets what he asked. Bushi Road, completely agree. But yeah, props to the trainer because he did a fantastic job with these women. And again, we've got the Rookie of Stardom tournament coming up on the 3rd of January, and 4 of the 6 competitors are in that tournament. So that's very, very exciting. Overall, I gave this 3.25 stars. And honestly, there's not anything bad I could say about it. I'm just going to say before I throw it to you, Matt, Jesse, I've seen it. Hello. Yes, we've talked about it earlier on. So if you want to wait and sort of skip back after we've finished, we talk about it in detail. Go, Matt.
Okay, or send us a message, but or do both. Why not? You're gonna get the best of both worlds. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. We mentioned last week with Sayaka's match versus Saya Kamitani that it looked like with the 2 rookies with her and Rana, which that she had a little bit more kind of to prove. She was great here on her team. Like, look more explosive. Look, Saya did a great job, carrying her, leading her where she needed to go. But she looked like somebody that went from having 1 match to having like 50. You mentioned the with all the new rookies of Hanako, Rana, and Sayaka having so much chemistry together. I think it's probably because they were in the dojo training. Obviously Hanako was probably in there a little bit earlier because she's been wrestling for a handful of months, but she's probably still, I'm assuming she's still in there training and helping leading these rookies who are only just a few months behind. But I really liked how Yuzuki was trying for like the judo throw. Anytime like she got caught with something, Azusa Ninaba would just come in and just kick them to help them go over. She tried a judo throw, might have been Hanako, and she comes in and she does the kick. She's going for that roll up at the end, and then she just throws like a head kick and helps them go over for the roll up. I thought it was really cool that it was like, oh wait, you need help? Let me just throw a kick. And that was really kind of like the difference maker in this match. And Miyu was great as well. Yeah, this was like, holy geez. Like, if this is the crop of talent we have coming up in the next year or two, with the talent that's already there and already super young, it's phenomenal. I mean, really, the sky's the limit. They touched upon that Giulia thing. You can't replace Giulia, and you never will. But holy geez, you're going to fill a lot of voids with this roster. They really, really are. And the fact that they put Azusa Inaba on this match makes me think that, they didn't put her in this match. I thought it would be on the pre-show. A lot of times Stardom will give you, here's match 1. I'm like, okay, is that going to be a half an hour earlier than you're telling me? And it's going to be on the pre-show. And it wasn't. They actually put on the main show proper. They wouldn't have put her on the show, the big show at the end of the year, if they don't have plans for her. So I really hope somewhere in the future that they can bring her and her sister in on a more full-time basis, because mixed in with this roster, with these rookies, the 2 of them, especially with the tag division looking really, really tasty as we go into 2024, give me the Inaba sisters versus Mel Tier. Give it to me versus Crazy Star. Obviously Aphrodite. I'm really hoping, that they are signed to a full-time contract with Stardom sooner than later, my friend. I like this match a little bit better than you. I had it 3.5 stars, sir.
Plug Pedro actually says Hanan has been ringside for Yuzuki a lot. And I did notice Hanan ringside actually in this match. And he's followed up by saying, will not be surprised if she's helping the new girls a lot. I know that obviously Hazuki is in charge of a lot of the training in the dojo. So
should be more violent then.
Should be more violent, yeah, absolutely. To explain Zugami's kicks anyway. But I do wonder if that is something that's happening then, if Hanan is going in and helping out as well.
At 19
Wouldn't
years
surprise
old.
me. At 19 years old. Honestly, and you can clip this, feel free. Hanan, future red belt champion. Clip it. This is quite an interesting question. Venk and Bjorn, do you think they're going to throw them in factions quick because they're taking their time recently? In terms of factions, a lot of it is dependent on injuries. I mean, we've spoken a lot about Mina Shirakawa, who we're going to talk about in a minute. And Club Venus has just been decimated by injuries. She's on her own at the moment. So she's in desperate need of support. There's only 3-4 members of Donna Del Mondo at the moment. You've only got 583 members of Oeditai. So, and then on top of that, you've got all the rookies that are without factions. You have got Suzu Suzuki, who's still without a faction, Meisera, who's still without a faction. So I do wonder if we are going to get people sort of laying claim to people. I mean, if Yuzuki's been sort of seconded by Hanan quite a lot, I wonder if she'll end up in Stars, even though everything about her screamed Queen's Quest to me. I would put money on Ronnie Agami going to God's Eye. I think I said that during our last review as well. Just the way she wrestles is so, and I think she's even come out and said that Syuri was a huge influence on her. So I'd be amazed if she's not in God's Eye very, very, very soon. But anyway, we move on to the 4-way tag, which was Saki Kashima and Ami Sourei of God's Eye defeating the Donna Del Mondo team of Tekla and Mai Sakurai, the Cosmic Angels team of Yuna Mizumori and friend of the show Saki, and the Queen's Quest team of Lady C and Hina, with Ami Sourei pinning Yuna Mizumori with a blue thunder bomb in 7 minutes and 25 seconds. Couple of things first before we delve into the crux of this match. We both thought that Donna Del Mondo were going to come out on top in this match so that Mai Sakurai could do her shtick. What we failed to take into account is that Mai Sakurai will do her shtick whether she wins or not. So there we are. And I think of everyone in this match, I was quite surprised it was Ami Sourei who got the pinfall victory, but I'm not upset by it. I thought this match was the weakest on the card, but that's not to say it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. We knew what we were getting. It was a 4-way tag. Lady C and Hina got a lot of time to shine, which was really important, especially for Hina. Give her that time on the big stage. I thought Saki and Yuna Mizumori worked really, really well together, had some really crisp offense. Hopefully, with Cosmic Angels, who again are another faction, talking about people who've been decimated by injuries. Cosmic Angels are another one. They are literally Yuna Mizumori and Soriano at the moment. Hopefully, Yuna Mizumori will stop eating as many pinfalls as she does, because she, you talk about most improved, you talk about how Miyu Amasaki has improved. Yuna Mizumori's got to be in that conversation. She has been tremendous holding it down for Cosmic Angels, and I thought her and Saki today had a really, really good connection, a really good synergy between them.
And they came out to the Cosmic Angels theme.
And they came out to the Cosmic Angels theme and sort of did the dance.
They come a long way from Tam, Unagi, and Mina with the big 3-way dance. But I was like, wait, what? Did I trip? Did I put in the wrong feed? But they worked very well together. I think I texted you right afterwards. I said, boy, for Saki, who hasn't been in Stardom in quite a while, and Yuna, you mentioned she's the most improved, in my opinion, the most improved wrestler in all of wrestling in 2023. And I'm so looking forward to what she does in 2024 and beyond. I thought her and Saki were great as a team. I hope we see more of Saki in Cosmic Angels and obviously Stardom. I believe she's on I think she's on the Triangle Derby show, and I think the 4th as well. I think she's on 1 or 2 of those shows. So hopefully she sticks around a little bit longer. I mentioned it before. I thought of all these 8 women, I thought Hina was the MVP of this match. I thought she looked great. I thought her improvement was really well. I like how Saki Kashima didn't want anything to do with the match. Like, her comedic timing was perfect. And their tag partner, Ami Sourei, just goes in there and just destroys people and then gets the win with the blue thunder bomb. And of course, Tekla looked really good as well. I wish she would have got a little more in that match. But of course, it doesn't matter. We keep forgetting that it doesn't matter win, lose, or draw. Sakurai is going to do her stick. She is, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Yeah, really good match. Probably the weakest on the card, but I still had it 3.5 stars. I thought it was really good. Maybe because of so many people in the match, maybe if it went a minute longer, like Ami Sourei just hits the blue thunder bomb, and because it's not her main finish, I thought someone would that Yuna would either kick out or that it would get broken up, and then it was just like the 3-count hit. I was like, oh, okay, all right, let's move on to the next one. So really good match. Everybody worked hard. I wish it went a little bit longer. But, I mean, it was what it was. It's nice to get everybody on the card. Like I said, it's nice to give Hina that big spotlight as well as the return of Saki. So,
yeah, agreed. the finish did sort of come out of nowhere, and I was surprised that it wasn't Hina or Lady C that ate the pinfall, to be perfectly honest. But I suppose Yuna Mizumori is another one that isn't signed to a Stardom deal, I don't think. So that might be why she eats the pinfalls in matches like that. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine, did what it needed to do, but yeah, it's probably the weakest on a very, very good card. We move on then to our third match on the main card, which is an 8-woman tag, the Mayu Iwatani return match. The Stars team of Mayu, Hazuki, Hanan, and Sayurita defeated the Uedatai team of Starlight Kid, Rina Ruaka, and Fukigen Death. Mayu Iwatani getting the pinfall over Fukigen Death with the moonsault in 10 minutes and 25 seconds. Bloody hell, I've missed Mayu. I have missed Mayu so much. That Stars team is fantastic, but there is such a different dynamic when Mayu is a part of it. And you've already said about this match how you thought that, you know, it will be get your licks in and we'll go home. And all 8 of these women gave something different. I thought this flowed really, really well. Starlight Kid came out with just a complete savagery that we haven't seen in so long. And I was actually cheering in my garden room, just going, go on, kick the hand, Starlight, kick the hand. I love that. I love the fact that we are playing on that. And Starlight Kid had this real just aggression in the way she was attacking Mayu. Mayu, who was in the match for bloody ages as well. Like, she took all of the heat in this match, and then obviously will go on to get the win. The fact that the hand is playing a factor, and the fact that her next big singles match is Shuri, who you know is going to be targeting that hand. Like, Mayu was in for a world of pain. But yeah, overall, loved this match. And Matt, you're absolutely right. We put a pin in it. Let's talk about it. Finally, someone has worked out how to reverse the O'Connor role.
My only negative about this match, there wasn't enough Hazuki. However, Hazuki, her one spot in this match should be played on SportsCenter. So we see as the match is building towards the end, Mayu gets caught in the O'Connor roll, and you're like, okay, there's no way, right? Either Mayu's kicking out or someone's going to break it up. Mm-hmm. And just as the ref has his hand coming down for the 3, you just see Hazuki's boot come in and just boom, almost take all the paint off the face of one Fukigen Death. I was like, holy jeez. That is the, that's the O'Connor roll. It's almost as deadly as the Kishik Kasai. We know how to break it up. You just need to team with Hazuki. And just as she's getting ready to take you into the ropes, you just need to be like, be ready. Because it was 1, 2, and all of a sudden you see, boom. It's like, oh, jeez. Literally the point that I forgot they do the Freedom rocket launcher because I was like, oh, man. Like, she just booted poor Fukigen Death's head, like, right in the front row. But this was us. I mean, again, they could have done everybody do 1 or 2 moves, 1 or 2 tag team moves. Mayu hits the moonsault. We'll take it home. But, I didn't even realize, just because of how stacked this card is, especially the last 4 matches. As the Stars are doing their entrance, it's like, this is like a dream team here that they have. You have Hazuki, you have Mayu, and you have Wingori, who we just saw had the phenomenal New Blood tag match on Christmas Day, New Blood 12. And it was like, wow, like what a team this is. And then you're thinking, well, the Wild Tag team, they're kind of overpowered here. You have Fukigen Death, you have Rina, you have Ruaka, and then you have Starlight Kid. But of course, the Wild Tag's got a Wild Tag. Right as soon as the match starts, it's like they jump. We get all these things. We get all these dives. Starlight Kid looks great. Ruaka got her stuff in. Rina looked terrific here. And then the matches, we got great double teams. And again, you had double teams, you had triple team, you had quadruple teams. And again, these tag matches, if something 1 or 2 things goes wrong, it's the domino effect, because then it all kind of goes downhill, and you have to have somebody, 1 or 2 people to kind of put it back together. Nothing was wrong. The timing on everything was great. The ring position and everything was perfect. And it's just amazing, especially like these Mayu Stars teams, when it comes to doing the double teams and the triple teams and the quadruple teams. It's like when she is directing, everybody knows where they need to be. Nobody's a half a step off. Everybody needs to know where they need to be, especially when they did like that 4-way boot scrape, the Hazuki-led 4-way boot scrape, which I thought was great. And then it leads to the Uedatai dives. And then you get like almost a mini match with Fukigen Death and Mayu. And then it looks like Fukigen Death's going to steal one. Hazuki comes with the boot, and then we see all the rest of Stars takes out the rest of Uedatai, and then they do the Freedom rocket launcher to Fukigen Death, and then the moonsault. But I'm going to give you my star rating, and everyone's going to go nuts. They're going to say, Matt, you are such a Stardom fan, because you told me that I was going to give this star rating going into this match. You think that I was nuts. I love this. I gave it 4 stars. I absolutely love this match.
You gave it 4 stars.
4 stars. I love for the pacing, the timing, the fact the crowd was hot for everything, and for you to do that match. But if you're in that match, you have 7 other people that you have to have your timing, your cues for them to get that in, especially with that finish. I thought this was great. This is one of the best multi-person undercard matches Stardom's ever done. This was terrific and a great way to bring back in Mayu, my friend. Really was.
Oh, it's a great way to bring in Mayu. Definitely, we've missed her massively. Just her general aura, and even just from the entrances. Like, you've got Sayarida coming in the brand new green coat. You've got Hanan coming in the brand new yellow one. And then you've got Hazuki coming in this absolutely gorgeous robe. And you've got Mayu then coming in with the mask and the robe. And it felt very much like a walking Pokemon evolution. You've got Sayarida, who evolves into Hanan, who evolves into Hazuki, who evolves into, like, Mega Mayu. And they just felt like it. Felt amazing to have them all back. And when stars are together, they are one of the best factions because they work so well together. And yeah, we didn't quite get enough Hazuki, but it was still fantastic. I didn't quite go 4 stars because I'm not a lunatic like you, but I did go 3.5. I thought it was great. I thought they did what they needed to do with the weather tide. They gave Starlight Kid just enough of a spotlight. She came out in the interviews afterwards, in the press conference afterwards, and said that she is demanding a singles match with Mayu Iwatani for the new year, which we sort of thought was where they were going anyway. When this is, of course, and this is another bonus of the less pay-per-view dates, you have got chance to let these feuds build, to let them stew, to build anticipation for it. Because if you look at the pay-per-view calendar, we've got Supreme Fight at the start of February. We have got the 2 obviously pay-per-views at the start of January, which are already sorted. You've then got the Cinderella tournament final, and then you've got Yokohama. In my opinion, if you aren't going to run Mayu versus Mercedes Moné back, why not give Starlight Kid that rub? Why not have Mayu versus Starlight Kid at All-Star Grand Queendom? Have it bubbling all the way through till April. Properly have it bubble. Especially if you want the IWGP Women's Championship defended more and actually have its prestige raised. Give them 20 minutes, put them semi-main, even third from the top, and just have them go at it. Because those two have proved time and time and again, whenever they do a singles match, they absolutely knock it out of the park. So I would do that. I wouldn't try and rush it. Give it time. Put it in All-Star Grand Queendom. I mean, it's one of those feuds that you don't particularly need to give the time to, I suppose, because of all the history that goes along with it. But I'd just let it really have Starlight Kid be literally gasping for it by April. I want to destroy Mayu Iwatani. Have that desire of her to eclipse the shadow of her mentor, literally driving her mental. Have her beat the living hell out of Mayu every single opportunity she gets. Every time Stars and a weather tie are opposite each other in undercard tags, have Starlight Kid zero in on Mayu and just deliver Starlight Kid pain. That should be what it is until April. Have Mayu defend on pay-per-views against other people and just have it really rile Starlight Kid. It is worth noting, by the way, that every single person on the weather tie team has turned on Mayu at some point.
Sad. Heartbreaking. Real quick, did you notice? I didn't notice this until our good friend Scotty Wrestling brought this out. My Starlight Kid's mask, like the first mask she has, and she takes off, was an MK Sisters mask. So we're definitely going somewhere. Mask. We're definitely going somewhere. Yeah, and it doesn't even need, like, we all think that Mayu is going to retain against Shuri, but we're not 100% sure. So you can do Mayu versus Starlight, because she said, I want a match with Mayu. She never said for the IWGP. So that match does not need a title. It's just really a bonus. I mean, I would not have. I think Mayu is going to retain, come next week, but yeah, I wouldn't be heartbroken if Shuri gets a crack run with the crack run. Well, that sounded very druggy. She gets a run at the
Jesus.
I'm getting hungry. It took a turn bad. Merry Christmas, everyone. If she gets a run with the IWGP Women's Championship. So, but yeah, really good stuff there. Really good job planting that seed with her coming out with the MK Sisters mask, because clearly that's going to be the first feud for both Mayu and Starlight Kid, and a great way to start off 2024 with them two going at it.
I don't want to sound disparaging at all, but at the moment it doesn't matter who holds the IWGP Women's Championship until it's booked better and until it is given the prestige that they promised that they will be giving it. It doesn't matter who holds it. you've had it on Mayu Iwatani, the icon of Stardom, the best wrestler in the world, in my opinion. And you've given her 3 defenses or 2 defenses in 220 odd days. So until it's treated correctly, it doesn't matter whether you put it on her, Mercedes Moné, Kairi, doesn't matter. So if they put it on Syuri, okay, but start having more matches. Start having it defended on New Japan shows, which is where it was supposed to be defended anyway. You know, big New Japan shows. Well, we've had Dominion, wasn't defended on Dominion. We've had what was the big one in? We've had Destruction in Ryogoku, wasn't defended there. You know, we're having Wrestle Kingdom. It's not defended at Wrestle Kingdom, and that's something Mayu's actually said. You know, there's a Tokyo Dome show, and I'm wearing an IWGP Championship, and I'm not defending it at the Dome. And I'm starting to think, is that because of me? And, you know, you do start to think, well, you know, yes, we are running a Tokyo Dome City Hall show on January 4th, but it's not the Dome. You know, it's an IWGP Championship. And I know that they were given 5 minutes at Wrestle Kingdom 17, and it felt very much like an arbitrary 5 minutes of, right, here's your time. There you go. It felt very much like it was forced on them. I do wonder. I know that New Japan have just got a new president as well. Some guy called Hiroshi Tanahashi. Yeah, I don't think he's done much. But no, in all seriousness, I know that there's change in management in New Japan as well. So I do wonder if we'll see something with the IWGP Women's Championship as a result of that. Moving on, let's move to the next match, which was a 6-woman tag match, which saw the 7-Up team of Nanae Takahashi and Yu and Azumi defeat the team of Syuri Mina Shirakawa and Meisera, with Nanae Takahashi defeating Mina Shirakawa with the 1-second EX in 11 minutes and 41 seconds. Right. Let's get into it now. Yes, Nanae Takahashi didn't do the job. Nanae wins, lol. We know. Now, I was initially very angry about the result of this match. Not that team won, but the fact that the one person on that team who did not need the pinfall was Nanae Takahashi. However, if this is leading to something, which apparently it is, Rossi has himself already spoken about a program with Nanae and Mina Shirakawa. If this is leading to a program between those two, if Mina gets her win back, I am absolutely fine with this result. It's an undercard tag. It's not the end of the world. However, if this is a match in a vacuum, this is a ridiculous booking decision. And I think we both agree on that, Matt. You know, if Nanae Takahashi is getting this win here, but then Mina gets a big singles victory over Nanae later on in the year, I'm absolutely fine with this booking decision. Doesn't matter. If it means it's going to be a springboard for Mina, I'm absolutely all over it. That's fine. That's great. However, if these two now don't face each other for the next 6 months, what was the point? What was the point? Because you had Meisera in this match, you had Azumi in this match, you had Mina Shirakawa in this match, all who could have used the pinfall.
Yeah, I kind of don't get it, because it's not like that. It's just with the Nanae getting the win, it's just Mina just keeps going. They keep losing her, and she keeps losing and losing and losing. It's like she's having great matches. It doesn't matter if it's tag, singles, like she's drawing money. She's putting more eyes on the company. She's busting her ass. Why are we kind of bearing her? And I know last week you mentioned that you think that your early pick to win the Cinderella tournament's Mina. And I'm like, I'm all for that. I'm all for building her back up. Maybe that's what they're doing here. Like, I don't understand why you couldn't have Azumi get the fall here. But yeah, you mentioned it. Maybe, I mean, it doesn't need a long build. We just saw it happen in a month and in a week or two. Why don't we say, all right, on the Supreme Fight Show on the 4th of February, we're doing a 1-on-1 Mina versus Nanae. Have her get her win there. Build her to the Cinderella. Build her to the Yokohama show at the end of April. Something like that, and keep Mina red hot throughout the summer going into the 5-star. Where it just seems like, I don't know why they're treading water with Mina. She's proven that she can be a main eventer. She had that great match with Natsupoi for the World of Stardom Championship. The Great match. As much as people don't like that result, that double title match with Tam was phenomenal.
It was a great match.
I mentioned on the show before, the biggest and best Stardom show of all time was All-Star Grand Queendom earlier this year, and she had, in my opinion, the best match on it. You can make an argument with Mayu, with Shuri, with Hashimoto, with Mercedes Moné on that show that Mina Shirakawa was the MVP of that show. And it's just like, I just don't know, what's going on. And again, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's like we're breaking her down to build her back up, which Stardom does a great job. We saw her do it with Giulia in the spring of 2022. They broke her down, lost to Shuri, build her back up in the 5-star, and then won the title. Maybe that's what they're doing here. That's what I hope. But let's get on the positive thing, my friend. Let's talk about one of my favorite wrestlers to talk about, Azumi. Now, we know Azumi's great at the high-speed style. We know she's great. We saw she can throw down with Utami, with Giulia. We've seen that. We know Azumi's great tag matches, especially when she's tagging with, whether it's Lady C, whether it's Miyu, whether it's Saya, whether it's Utami, it's part of Queen's Quest. She is fantastic here with 7-Up, who I don't think she's ever teamed up with before. They were doing double teams and triple teams in this match that Azumi's kind of like the main part of, as if like 7-Up and as if you and I were going to take their faces off like in Scooby-Doo, and it was really Saya and Utami under there. I was like, where did this come from? It's just like, it's Azumi. She is so special. We talk about special wrestlers. She's in a category all of her own. And May Sarah on the other side was great. Her and Shuri had really good stuff. We talked last week how Shuri and Azumi is always a great matchup that I don't think gets enough credit or gets talked about enough because they have great chemistry together. I thought Yu was great here. I thought Nanai. I thought everybody was great here. I didn't like the result because it's another Nanai win that she doesn't need, another loss that Mina doesn't need. However, if we are building towards Mina getting that win back, and Nanai hasn't had a singles loss since the Shuri title reign last year. I don't think so. Not in Stardom. I don't think she's eaten a singles loss. So if she eats it on a big show with Mina Shirakawa, and then we're building Mina back up, I'm all for it. I thought it was a great match. I had it 3 3/4 stars. Again, I thought Azumi was the MVP here. Her stuff with May was really good, and I just really hope that we're building Mina back up because I'm such a huge fan of her, and she just works so hard, and she's so great in the ring, and it doesn't matter what situation you put her in, Mina is always going to deliver.
Agreed. I actually gave it 4 stars. I liked it a little bit more than you.
Look at you.
And hear you, and I'm really sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, my friend. I saw this comment. I enjoy the passion ejection matches, but I'm really tired of her beating people and they don't get their comeuppance. Completely.
Starlight Kid, like the Starlight Kid, where she's
the
already
Starlight
like
Kid match was completely pointless. Completely pointless. You look at her matches, like her match with Waka Tsukiyama was perfect. Her match with Lady C, her match with Miyu Amasaki, but like May Sarah, she didn't need to beat May Sarah. That seemed like a really pointless passion injection match as well. And, if she's there to do stuff with the young wrestlers, with the rookie wrestlers, great. I think that works. But eventually one of them is going to have to beat her. And I know they did that with Waka, and yeah, it was a great feeling. And actually it was probably one of the better booked stories of the year. But ultimately she hasn't eaten a singles loss since she's been in Stardom again. Turning up regularly, or I don't think she has. In fact, I'm sure she hasn't. And yeah, absolutely. Starlight Kid is mentioned. Hopefully, obviously, 2024 is a big turn for Starlight Kid because, if anything, her year went down the pan after losing to Takahashi.
Hopefully that's happened to Mina. Hopefully that's happened to Mina.
Well, look, if it happens to Mina, then I will be extremely annoyed retrospectively in this match. I'm willing to hold off because I am convinced that Mina is going to win the Cinderella. Now, the victory in the white belt match does sort of put a crux in that. It does sort of put a kink in that, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's talk about the first of our 4 title matches then. It was the Goddess of Stardom titles, the 30th champions Aphrodite, Utami Hayashishita and Saya Kamitani defeated the Oedo XL team of Momo Watanabe and Natsuko Tora to achieve their first successful title defense, Utami pinning Tora after the torture rack bomb in 16 minutes and 22 seconds. Now, great stuff. Fantastic stuff. I'm going to let you go with this, Matt, because I know that you were huge on this match. Now, I know that you are obviously primarily a tag team wrestler.
Mhm.
You're obviously also the babyface in peril in your tag team. That is your sort of position in that tag team, which I understand you do tremendously, by the way. My one point, and I think I text this to you, is I thought it was really interesting, not a bad dynamic by any stretch of the imagination, but it was really interesting that they put Utami as the babyface in peril and Saya as the hot tag wrestler. And I wasn't sure how I'd feel about that because Saya Kamatani has got underdog babyface written all over her. The way she wrestles, the way she sells, everything about that made me think, right, Saya's going to get the living hell beaten out of her, and then Utami's going to come in and clean house. And they did it completely the other way. And it worked really well. And I know that the story they're telling is of Saya and Momo Watanabe. And that came through really, really well. That B-driver reversal. Oh, it was so good. It was so well timed. But honestly, it was one of my favorite spots of the entire show. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the dynamic of the match. And anyway, I know that you have got lots to say on this match. You go, good sir.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, by all means, my friend, cut me off. And then if there's anybody has any questions afterwards, we'll tag them in because let's get the one negative thing out of the way is, again, I mentioned how much I love this. I'll tell you right now, 4.5 stars. Absolutely love this match. And it was my third favorite match on the show at 4.5 stars. I absolutely love this match. Now, I was kind of getting a little bit of attacked on social media, and I feel bad for you people because like you really like that match, even though Saya was late breaking up the pinfall and the assisted spine buster. Now, to be fair, I was taking my notes and I kind of just looked up and kind of saw it. And I thought maybe she's a little bit late. And then you might have texted me a couple seconds after. Like, I think Saya missed her cue because the ref pulled the thing. I went back and while I was waiting for what I thought the feed was the catch again to watch the main event, I went back and watched this match and then we got it on YouTube. And yeah, she was late. And does that take away from the match? I don't think so. And here's the reason why. Again, I'm going to explain wrestling psychology with real life psychology, and hopefully that gives you more of appreciation for this match and just wrestling in general, especially tag wrestling. So say you and your friends are all out for a nice dinner. You walk in, the atmosphere is great, the hostess is great, your waiter, waitresses are great. You and 3 or 4 of your friends, or your relatives or your loved one or whatever, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And the place is clean, the boot's great, you get your drinks are great, your appetizers are great, you're halfway through your meal, which is tremendous. You're having a great time. Somebody 4 booths over sneezes really loud and you all stop eating. You look up because they kind of disturbed your meal and you're like, that was really loud, wasn't it? Okay. You go back, you finish your meal, you have a dessert, and then you have a nightcap drink and everything was great. That one person who sneezed, which was an accident that made you look up for 2 seconds, did that ruin your night? No, it didn't. So why are certain people attacking this match because of Saya was off by a half a second to break up the pinfall? And technically, if you look back at it, she kind of touches Utami's arm. It's referee's discretion to break up the pinfall. I digress, sir. I digress. I hope that paints a bigger perspective. So let's talk about tag team wrestling and the genius psychology of this match. You have the pure babyface team of Queen's Quest of Utami and Sai Kamatani versus the pure heel team of Momo Watanabe and Natsuko Tora. Can't be any simpler, right? Utami wants to start first, and she wants to start with Momo. She goes to lock up with Momo because you have the former leader of the faction and the current leader of the faction. That's kind of where some of the heat is, and Saya as well. And Utami goes to lock up, Momo ducks not once but twice, and now you're building the anticipation. I was like, this is genius. They didn't even touch it. This is genius. Utami starts out wrestling Momo. Now all of a sudden Tora is like, I don't like this. Let's get a 2-on-1 advantage. They try to double team Utami. Saya Kamatani is like, this isn't happening. Comes in, hits the big drop kick. The heel faction goes to the floor. Saya goes for the picture-perfect springboard dropkick. As she's setting up for it, I have 2 thoughts that come across my head. One is like, if she hits this is a big move, a minute in the match. That means this match is only going 10, 11 minutes, and it's going to be a blitz, which I'm fine with, but I'd rather the long story. Or she's not getting hit with it, which she does it. The ref gets blinded, which I mentioned last week. I know that there's going to be some cheating in this match as long as the ref gets blinded. Ref didn't see the terrible crate. At the same time, what else are you going to throw, right? The crate, the case, yeah, whatever, the milk crate, whatever. Hit Saya. Now we forget about that, right? Now
it's a great shot, by the way. It's a fantastic
really
shot.
Now, and whenever somebody's putting together a tag match and they come to me for advice, and if they're doing a hot spot, I always bring this up. You thought you were going to get that spot. And Saya Kamatani has one of the best springboard drop kicks you'll ever see in wrestling. Perfect timing, the way she expends the for lack of a better term, wings. You know, she's the Phoenix. It's a thing of beauty. It really, really is. Go back and watch that white belt run. She does in every match. The timing, the psychology, everything is perfect. So if you get that move early and then you have a 20-minute match, it's like, for example, if you're going to see I'm using the new Batman movie. You know, it's a 2-hour-long movie. An hour in, he catches the Joker. What are we going to do for the next hour? Him and Jim Gordon are going to have coffee? Yeah, great. We already saw the main crux of the match. You want to build to that move. So you think you're getting this springboard plancha a minute in. You don't get it. So it reminds me of the time when I was about 5 or 6 years old. Me and my dad go to church, and he looks at me and he said, if you're good at church and you pay attention, we'll stop at the donut shop on the way home. You can get a donut and a chocolate milk. Great. I'm anticipating it very much like I'm anticipating the Saya springboard. We go to the donut shop for a little Matt Turner trivia. My favorite donut is a Boston cream. Walk into the donut shop. I get my chocolate milk. They're out of Boston cream donuts. Oh, I thought I was going to get my Boston cream donut. I thought I was going to get the Saya Kamatani springboard this early. And I was like, I guess I'll take a French curler. Well, I don't even remember what I got 30 some odd years ago. Sit down, have a conversation with my dad. We probably talk about wrestling or football, whatever. The donut's great. Don't get me wrong. Completely forget that I was going to get the Boston cream. Completely forget. Here we go. Completely forget we were supposed to get this springboard. We get done with the donut. The manager comes out and says, hey, I heard you wanted a Boston cream donut. We just made a fresh batch on the house. Now I went from, I thought I was going to get it. I didn't get it. This one was pretty good. And then I got it. That's what Saya did. Now, not only, Rob, do we get that once, we get it twice in this match. And I will get to that. Obviously, Saya does hit the springboard. So she gets hit with the crate. They do a little bit of heat on Utami, which I call that a warm, right? I call that a warm. I've never, Okay. I think I might have heard Jim Cornette say it once or twice. I'm so lucky that I got to learn from that crazy, crazy bastard when I was in Ring of Honor. I would literally put my headphones in my head and turn the volume down, and I would just hear him talk about tag team wrestling. So it's not a long heat. So because I'm the same way. Saya Kamatani, in my opinion, is the second best seller in this company. It's Mayu and everybody else, but I think Saya, especially in that white belt range, she's the second best seller, for my opinion. And Utami's kind of comes in with the clotheslines, the whole nine for the hot tags. I'm like, that's really weird. Utami takes a little bit of heat, warm, tags in Saya, same thing happens there. So you do double heat or double warm. So I get it. The match is building. We get in double team after double team after double team, which I thought was great. I loved how you mentioned it, that Momo hits the inhumane driver. Utami breaks up the pinfall. Tora pitches Utami out. Then she goes for the B driver, and then Utami comes in clothesline. She takes the code red or code green if we're going color coordinated, because right. So then we get Utami and Tora going at it. And you're like, I know these Stardom matches go. When they're going to those big moves, we know it's going to be an Utami Tora finish with some tag teams. That's weird, because regardless if it's Saya or Utami getting the fall, it's got to be on Momo, right? So I kind of didn't understand. But then we see Utami hit a whole bunch of big moves on Tora after some really great falsies, and she goes to pick her up for the hijack bomb. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting, right? Tora is, one of the bigger, stronger wrestlers of it, and Utami gets her right up. And I'm like, whoa, where are we going with this? Momo, this is the genius of the match, because then I'm like, why isn't this coming down to Momo needs to take the fall? Momo comes in and does the mist. Never done before. Does Tora's mist. We saw Tora do every match in the 5-star. And I'm like, this is genius, because nobody sees it coming. Then hits the head kick. Then eventually we get the Saya springboard. She puts it at the right place at the right time. Eventually, Utami comes back and we get the hijack bomb on Tora. So not only did we get one big move tease we get two. And I thought that was going to be the finish until Momo out of nowhere, you don't even see her, breaks up the fall. They go back and forth. Tommy's just German suplexing the world. They hit the magic killer. And this is great, because then what it really comes down to is the teamwork of Saya and Utami to put away the bad team that's cheating, ref blinding, crate shot, K shot, missed the whole nine. So then Utami's hitting German suplexes. Saya gets up. They hit the German suplex assisted drop kick off the top rope, which it amazes me how Utami doesn't get crushed on that. It's absolutely a thing of beauty. I love it when they do it. And then Utami looks at Saya. Saya looks at Utami. At the same time, we have the Star Crusher and we have the Torture Rack Bomb for the finish. Utami said she wanted to put the final nail in this coffin. They did, because even though Momo didn't technically take the pinfall, she took the finish from Saya Kamatani after she was the one that was cheating the most and had to use her tag partner's cheat tactic. And it still didn't work because what ultimately overcame the Uedo tie was the tag team work of the best tag team in the world, Utami and Saya Kamatani. Folks, it's so simple, and they made it so great. 4.5 stars. If you're looking to study professional wrestling, tag team wrestling, this match is so simple to follow when you break it down, and it's absolute genius.
And Plug Pedro says, Rob, can you recommend Matt to be a wrestling teacher for a university course? Yes, I can. And if you'd like to send all booking requests for Matt to robgoodwin@gmail.com, all money can go there as well. I will absolutely make sure that Matt gets it. Yeah, this was fantastic. It's tag team wrestling in its simplest form, but executed so well by 4 really fantastic wrestlers. As we talked about on the preview, how Momo Watanabe has recaptured that form that made her so compelling during her early Queen's Quest days. Tora has found a completely new lease on life since she's come back from the injury. That 5-star was fantastic for her. I must admit, the box being yeeted, as Hiroyu said, at it from
Saya's like half springboard. So
yeah,
like,
honestly, it was so well timed, so well timed. And yes, there's no getting around. Saya did miss a pinfall, but ultimately, it was something that I forgot almost instantly, because then you're on to the next bit, and the fighting between Momo and Saya actually overshadowed the fighting between Utami and Tora, because a lot of what Utami and Tora was doing was in the ring, and then you could just see it, the way the camera was set up was Saya and Momo fighting on the outside and stopping each other, getting in to break up pinfalls, and it's been the story that they're building, and I really enjoyed that. I gave it 4.5 stars as well. Thought it was a really well paced, well structured, entertaining match. Yes, something went wrong in it. Ultimately, who cares? Focus on the positive. Glass is half full. We got a great Aphrodite title defense. No turns, no random booking shenanigans, no Oedetying their way to a tainted tag victory. Thank God. We got what we wanted.
And I think that, and again, this may be my QQ bias, I think just by the way that this match was built and what they did in their interviews going into this, I think we're in for a long for Goddess. I mean, it's not, obviously the red belt and white belt, we've had these year runs, but I think we're going to get at least a 6 to 8 month run, hopefully, out of these two, and rightfully so, because you can literally main event with this team at any show. And if you put on stuff like this, quality stuff like this, I mean, it's an easy sell.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because the Thunder Rock tag title reign, which is what you're talking about at the moment, which still to this day, the 8th reign with the belts, we're now on reign 30, is still the longest reigning title defense, 407 days. Since then, and bearing in mind that Thunder Rock dropped those belts in 2016, we have had one reign that has reached 300 days. We have had 2 runs since then that have reached 200 days. And don't forget, one of those is ALK, and Giulia was injured for a large chunk of that. We've had a smattering of 100 days, but nobody's really sort of taken the bull by the horns. Obviously, Aphrodite's last run, they held it for 153 days. We are due a long title run with these belts, especially recently, where we've hot-shotted them so much. Since 7-Up dropped the belts, we have had 1, 2, 3, 4 different champions.
Ooh.
They dropped the belts in April. And they were vacant from the end of November to, well, they were vacant for 2 weeks. So, it's due a long run. And I think of all the tag teams, I would argue Aphrodite are the team to sort of take those belts and sort of give them an importance. Because again, since those 407 days, we've had one long reign, and that was the Oedetai team of Hana Kimura and Kagetsu, who held them for 347. And as Venkin says, Melty shouldn't have lost to 7-Up. Oh, No, they should not have done. But that was a podcast a long time ago, and I believe an hour of it was just me and Matt going, "How the hell has this happened?"
In a galaxy far, far away.
Honestly, mate.
And then Tam goes to the Tokyo Dome a week later. We're like, how are we supposed to build this? Here's 5 minutes. Anyway, I mean, be positive.
to be fair, we were, even before that match happened, we were like, never mind that. 7-Up shouldn't have won the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. Never mind beating Melty. Anyway, let's move on then. So we move on to our third from the top match, which is the match for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Giulia defeated Megan Bayne to get a 7th successful title defense, choking Megan Bayne out with a guillotine choke, or a modified guillotine choke, in 17 minutes and 2 seconds. Another retention for Giulia. But for me, the story was not about Giulia. For me, a star was made in Megan Bayne. And the reason I say that is because when she debuted and she did an interview and said, I want to be the Stardom Brock Lesnar or the Stardom Undertaker, and that sort of build. And I thought to myself, how the hell does someone do that in Stardom? And then just after she debuted, Tam beat her clean. And I was like, oh, God. So what are they going to do with her now? And I mentioned before that Megan Bayne is one of Stardom's success stories this year, and she really is, because she went from that loss and just being a big dominant monster to having the relationship with May Sarah, to sort of being humanized in her relationship with Micah as Divine Kingdom, and the fact that she has lost 3 big singles matches. The one against Tam we all knew was coming. The way she lost in the tag match against Aphrodite, as I've already said, that was due to miscommunication. You know, she was still kept very strong in that match. And this one, she was kept incredibly strong. It was so obvious from the get-go that this was a completely different dynamic to other Giulia matches. Giulia is so used to being the brawling person on offense leading the match. And here she was in full on underdog babyface mode. You know, she couldn't bully Megan Bayne. Megan Bayne is significantly bigger than her, both in height and in stature. So when she comes out and tries to, you know, haul her into Northern Lights bombs and, you know, slap her about and stuff, Megan Bayne gives it as good as she gets. And it was so well done. And I knew Giulia had got her working boots on because she didn't come out in the Shawn Michaels poo brown tights from Survivor Series 2002, which honestly I hate those tights. And every time there's something in that color, oh my god, yeah, the soccer mum hair and the poo brown tights. But
still got over.
Honestly, it did go.
It still got a huge pop.
But I thought the fact that Giulia was so good in her selling, so consistent in her selling, and the way they built the match, yes, it was great that Giulia overcame the odds. It was great that it took, you know, I think it was 2 Northern Lights bombs followed by the guillotine choke. She also had a locked in the Stealth Viper for a while as well. It took so much to finally put Megan Bayne away. And actually, here you has actually put, if this really was Megan's swan song, she went out with a bang. Completely agree. These two had a fantastic singles match on a random Road 2 show. And it was that good that they decided to run it back on Stardom's biggest show, or one of their biggest shows. And I think they knocked it out of the park. Completely different to that match. Megan Bayne was still portrayed as an absolute monster. Giulia was always going to win. It was about how she won. And in the way that she won and looked imperious, but Megan Bayne lost and looked imperious, and continues to look imperious. Now, I know that Megan Bayne is booked on at least the January 3rd and January 4th shows. So she is still there for them. But I do wonder if she is homeward bound after that. If she is, she's... Think about this. Okay, we did a whole spiel at the start of the episode about WWE and Stardom's relationship. Not one person, or no, that's not true. I know Alex from Stardom Quest knew who she was from Beyond Wrestling. I don't even know what Beyond Wrestling is, but he knew who she was. But he might be the only person I know that actually knew who she was. She came in, a relative nobody, progressed so well in the 4 or 5 months she's been in Stardom, and is leaving significantly stronger than she arrived. That is what Stardom could do with some of the talent from NXT.
Mariah May, same thing.
Mariah May, exactly. I did know a little bit more about Mariah May, but yeah, Mariah May's the exact same. So yes, I do think that Megan Bayne has been a fantastic success story. I think she lost this match, but came out of it so much stronger than she went in. I would love for Rossi to go, do you know what? If you're not going to get used in AEW, why don't you do another tour with us? Why don't you come and stay till All-Star Grand Queendom? I tell you what, she's the reason we need the SWA belt back. God damn it.
He's fired up, folks. He's an angry elf.
honestly, I do not understand why that belt was retired. Ridiculous, but that's by the by. I'm fine about it now.
You know why? Let's get into it for 2 seconds, because Maya retired it to beat Kairi for the IWGP Women's Championship.
Oh, of course, yes. Because
did even Waka put over on commentary after the end of the match.
Yeah, after Kairi held the belt. Though, to be fair, at least Kairi did put someone over to win the belt. Oh, no, wait.
Anyway, Megan Bayne.
Megan Bayne. I love this match. I thought this match was great. I think I liked it a bit more than quite a few other people who watched this match, but I thought it was well-paced. I thought both women came out stronger than they went in, which is the whole premise of this match. When you've got someone of Megan Bayne's stature, that's always going to be the issue, okay? If you beat them, how are they going to look, okay? Is it going to rob them of all their sort of star power? Is it going to rob them of all of their aura? And I don't think it did. I think it worked really, 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 really well.
Brother, I have a question I should know the answer for. How many successful title defenses is this for Julia? I don't have it noted here.
I think this is the 7th. I will just double check that though.
Sure, no problem. One of the most impressive things about this match was, for the first half of this match, this crowd was pretty much dead. And it had nothing to do with Giulia or Megan Bayne. It was you're kind of put in a certain spot here, right? And you have a tired crowd. You're kind of towards the middle here, and you're just coming off a super hot tag match where everybody there it is for our resident Giulia fan over there, who, by the way, she runs a phenomenal Giulia fan page over on Twitter and the Instagram as well. So the V7. So if anybody would know, it'd be her. I think she would know better than Giulia. Anywho, so you do have I actually met her when I was in Philly. So she was the loudest person cheering for Giulia that day. Anywho,
hello to you.
So welcome. I'm glad that you're here with us. So you have a crowd that's just tired, and it has nothing to do with what Megan Bayne or Giulia are doing. It's just you're halfway through this show. You just come off this blistering main event or tag match that the crowd's tired for. And it's just like, oh, the crowd's kind of, are they going to peter out here? Because not only does Megan and Giulia need to get them back for their match, they need to set the table for these 2 back-to-back title matches that we know are going to be great, regardless of the crowd reaction, but you don't want them to die out here. So not only are they put in a pressure situation in the middle of the ring, they have to figure this out to get the crowd back, not only for this match, for this rest of the show. And not only did they do it, they did it in spades. I don't know who called it when, but they're going at a good pace, right? And it's a really good match. Giulia hits the Northern Lights bomb. I'm like, this was a pretty good match. And because nobody kicks out of the Northern Lights bomb, really, then Megan Bayne kicks out, and you're like, oh, and now the crowd starts getting here. You mentioned how Megan Bayne, and I didn't know this, how Megan Bayne says she wants to be the Undertaker or Brock Lesnar. She hits a tombstone F5 in this match. So
she did. She did hit both those moves. Yes, she did take it quite literally in this match.
So they do a great job. And not only that, I loved how Giulia, and I'm a big fan of this, was somebody that has a big move to dump you on your head or whatever, and then they kick out, you go to a submission. Giulia hits the Northern Lights bomb. Megan Bayne kicks out. She goes into the Bianca. She puts her in the Bianca. And then it's like, oh, that'd be a really cool finish. And she's selling it. Eventually Megan Bayne gets the ropes. And then we're building. We have Megan Bayne is countering Giulia's stuff. She hits the tombstone. And then she hits the F5. And the way that it was built, like, okay, we don't think Giulia's losing the belt here. But it made me believe for like 2 or 3 seconds. I'm like, she hit the tombstone. She hit the F5. She's in the middle of the ring. Nobody's kicked out of the F5. I think she hit it on Tam. I think Tam either put her foot on the rope or she rolled out. But she's in, and I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, guys, please let me know.
I didn't see her kick out of one at Dream Queendom last year.
No, the F5. Megan
Oh,
Bain's F5.
sorry, ignore
Yeah.
me. Yeah, sorry. I thought you were still talking about the the Northern Lights.
I was like, did Megan Bain wrestle? Sure, I thought she wrestled Giulia in that
Imagine.
great match. Wait a minute, I'm not even drinking. What's in this? Anyway, so she kicks. So they're kicking out of the big moves, and you're like, okay, now we're building, and it seems like every big move they're kicking out of, and they're taking their time. They'll hit it, sell it, and now the crowd. They were here. Now they're here. Now they're here. Now so it's like, not only did you get them back for their match, you're setting the table for the co-main event and the main event. So kudos to how that just shows you how great Giulia and Megan Bain are. And then Megan Bain goes for a moonsault. Like, where are we going here?
Honestly,
yeah.
I was like, where is she go? No.
So
Connected with the top rope move better than Brock Lesnar, though. So,
well, if you ever seen Brock Lesnar do an OVW, for some reason he had a picture perfect. Anywho, so she goes for the moonsault, and it's just like, and she did a perfect rotation. I'm like, that was something. And then Giulia hits another Northern Lights bomb, and then she does the Indian Deathlock into the choke. The one little tidbit I had with this was, if you were going, I think they would have got a bigger pop, especially the way it was building, if Giulia would have won with the 3 count. She maybe would have hit a Northern Lights bomb, picked her up, and then another Northern Lights bomb, or hit the Glorious Driver, regardless, because the way it was building. But I understand you want to keep Megan strong. You want to do a pass-out finish. I think the Indian Deathlock, for somebody who's seen a lot of Giulia matches, is like her third-rate finisher. You have the Bianca and the Stealth Viper. I would have much rather have Giulia put Megan Bain in the Stealth Viper for two main reasons. One, you just dropped her on her head twice. The Stealth Viper, it's basically the cravat STF, so you're working back to the neck. It's a choke, and you've already softened up the neck. Two, I always have that visual for the World of Stardom Championship when Tam passed out from it. I mean, she had it in bad, and I thought that just would have been cooler. Regardless, that's my little nitpick. I love this match. I think this is the best of the New Japan Strong matches, not only from Giulia, but from when Willow had it as well. I think this is as great as the Izumi match was great. Don't get me wrong. She's had a lot of great matches. This was her best one. This is the best Megan Bain match. This is a phenomenal match in a great way. And again, I gave this 4.5 stars. I probably would have had it 4.25, but I bumped it up just because, again, the crowd's here. They got them here. And they got them here, and they never came down for those 2 title matches. 4.5 stars. Kudos to Megan Bain and Giulia. As much as I love Giulia, and as great as I think she is, I think she's even better now, because now her psychology of crowd control, of knowing when to do what and what to put what, and then set the table for your next 2 matches, just makes her even a bigger star. So I thought that was fantastic.
I gave it 4.25 as well, and I think that's an area of Giulia's game that she's really improved on. She's always been, as I said before, a very dominant wrestler, a very, brutal wrestler in her offense, but it's always been how she's on the back foot for me, because she doesn't do it very often. There's not many wrestlers that can out-muscle and out-bully Giulia. Willow Nightingale did it a little bit, and obviously Megan Bain here did it as well. And I think that's a really good feather to her bow, that she can do that she can flip between bully and bullied, which I think is really important. And then, so post-match, we had some lovely stuff between Giulia and Megan Bain, really putting Megan Bain over as she left. It did feel very much like her swan song. It did, the way she was sort of watched by the camera as she went to the back, it did feel like she was leaving. And then it cut to a New Japan logo. And we heard clapping from off screen, and bless Trish Adora. I thought it was Mercedes Moné.
Me too.
And I lost my mind. And then Trish Adora came on, and I felt really bad, because my excitement level went from there all the way down.
What a good promo. She really did.
She cut great promo. She cut great promo.
It's going to be a great match, too.
It's going to be a great match. Absolutely. It's been made official for the 13th of January in San Jose at New Japan Battle in the Valley. So if you are in the San Jose area, go and check out Giulia versus Trish Adora. From the limited stuff that I've seen of Trish, she's fantastic in ring, and her style will meld really well with Giulia's, I think. But it was just the fact that I thought it was going to be... I got it in my head that Mercedes was going to do a video package of this show. I don't know why.
I was the same way. We're nuts.
I was like, it's not going to happen. Here you's going to be at Battle in the Valley. Well, if you are going to be at Battle in the Valley, give us notes, my friend. Let us know what it's like. And I hope you have a fantastic time, buddy.
Be safe.
But yes, so Yeah, I felt
Same
really
way.
bad.
We're
I
nuts.
felt really bad on Trish Adora, but it'll be a great match. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We then move on to our semi-main event, which is going to, there we go. Sorry, I had the wrong page open for my notes. Wonder Stardom title match. Soriano, sorry, defeated the champion Mirai with the Japanese Ocean suplex in 24 minutes and 43 seconds, ending Mirai's reign at 180 days at just 3 title defenses. Now, Matt,
Yes, sir.
friend of the show, Scotty Wrestling, great guy. He said something along the lines of how the Wonder of Stardom Championship run, or the Wonder of Stardom Championship, needed to change hands. It hadn't helped Mirai in the way he thought it would do, or it should have done. Now, we know that Mirai's had fantastic matches. You know, she had a great match against Momo Watanabe. She had 2 great matches now against Soriano. I know that a couple of people were upset when she has been sort of bumped off the top of the card, or from near the top of the card, by, you know, the New Japan Strong Women's title and stuff like that. Do you think Mirai has benefited? No, let me rephrase that, because obviously she's benefited from being a champion, obviously. Has she benefited as much as you thought she would, holding that Wonder of Stardom Championship? Or do you think she is one of those wrestlers that is better in the chase than she is holding the belt?
Great question, brother. I'm going to say yes or no, because yes and no, and I'm going to give you my points, not to be a cop-out. I thought she would have the belt longer. I thought me and you both thought that if she was dropping the belt here, it would have been to Mina. And then we thought it was, oh my God, they're just not padding her, but they're just building her up more. The fact that she had a great chase with Saya and then a great chase against Tam, and then was able to win the belt, and has, I mean, the Konami match, these two Sayori match. I mean, they've all been the Momo match. They've all been bangers. She should have had the belt longer, in my opinion, with Sayori winning the belt. We talked about this last week. Does this mean she's like signed or verbally signed? We don't know. We don't know. I know a lot of people were saying this is the first time since Toni Storm that a non-signed wrestler has held one of the 2 belts. I think Rossi would have locked something down here one way or another. Maybe the fact that it's like, yes, I know you have the Sukiban thing and the Oz Academy. You can kind of finish those dates, but you are our top priority here. So when she won the match, I was like, okay, she's got to be on some sort of contract or verbal agreement where we're going to see more of her in Stardom, which I'm all for. Now, you talk about Mirai. She loses here. Okay, again, I say it all the time. I say a lot of things all the time. It's not who goes over, it's who gets over. Mirai had a great chase for this belt. She had great matches with this belt. We need Micah to have a really good V1 coming out of the anniversary show at Supreme Fight. If they do a little build, and if we get, now we know that she's not going to lose on V1. Will you be disappointed if our main event of that first pay-per-view of next year, well, obviously we have the pay-per-views, the 3rd and the 4th, but on the 4th, the Supreme Fight, would you be upset if the main event is Micah coming off this short but really good Wonder run versus Micah? I think that's a great way to get Micah over, because you know it's going to be a great match. Would you be upset if that's our main event? Because you built her now. Now she has that white belt. She's in the same vein. She has 2 Cinderella wins, so that puts her on the same plateau as Mayu. But she has won the Wonder of Stardom Champion. Not only did she win the Wonder of Stardom Champion, she beat the World of Stardom Champion when she did it. And again, she's had great matches, and she's in the same category, because she's won the belt that Giulia had, and that Tam had, and that Mayu had, and that Io and Arisa and Sai, and yada yada yada. So that's a very lauded belt that a lot of wrestlers that we love have never had. Natsupoi, Hazuki, Jungle Kiona, so on. So Azumi, Starlight Kid. Obviously, they haven't been there yet, but there's a lot of great wrestlers that have never held that belt before. She held it, and I think now you can give her kind of a little bit of a run towards the main event. Have her chase the red belt a little bit, not to win it, but just to build her up. I think eventually we're going to see somewhere, probably either in early 2024 or maybe the first quarter, maybe spring or early summer, Micah versus Mirai World of Stardom Championship match. And I got no problem with that, because she has proved she can main event these shows and steal the show, even though they never put her in the main event of any of these matches. But like, that was the best match of the show. that was the best match of the show. Mirai's match was the best match on the show. Now she'll go on last with Micah. And you know it's going to be a great match, and it's going to make Micah's championship run get off to a really good start, whether it's V1, V2, V3, so on and so forth.
I'm going to flip it back to you. So we're coming off the back of this Mirai title defense, or this title run, should I say. It's been divisive in some ways. The matches for me have all banged. The matches have all been really, really good. Did she feel any different as a champion, as if they'd, or, you know, did the belt affect it? Did it feel any different? Were she not champion? You know, would she have still had a killer match with Momo Watanabe? Would she have still had a killer match with Konami? Did it feel special because it was a title match? Did she feel like a Wonder of Stardom champion? And the reason I'm asking you that is because does Mirai have a future as the World of Stardom champion? Do you see her in the next 2, 3, 4 years? She's still relatively young. Do you see her as a future red belt champion? Because this, for all intents and purposes, like you said, should have been the jumping off point. This has been the jumping off point for so many white belt champions to become the red belt champion, to push to be the red belt champion. I can't answer that question. I don't know if Mirai has used this Wonder of Stardom. Again, matches have been fantastic. That Momo Watanabe match from Nagoya Golden Fight, one of my matches of the year. Great match. Does she feel like she belongs in that red belt arena at the moment? I don't think so. Not for me. And, you know, I'm sure she will do. I'm sure she will do. But I am of the opinion that the story with Sioriano, and obviously they're pivoting towards Natsupoi, which is great because, God, do we need a Natsupoi white belt reign. That girl deserves it after the year she's had this year. She's been brilliant. But, you know, there are some people who really struggle as champion. And even though I don't necessarily think Mirai has struggled as champion, I don't think she's ever felt like a champion. The matches have been great, but I don't feel like she's felt like a champion. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. And that might not be on her. That might be on the company. They maybe
yeah,
could have
maybe,
they could have put a little more gas on it. And I'll say this: she doesn't feel like a red belt champion just yet. But if I would have told you when a year ago today, when all Donald Del Mundo heisted Giulia up on her shoulders, I would have said, "Oh, by the way, next year Mike is walking out with a red belt." You would have said, maybe the white belt, but the red belt. So they're showing they're not afraid to start pushing new talent. Does Mirai win the 5-star next year? It's possible. Does she get to the finals? It's possible. Does she have another run with the white belt in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months? Sure, it's possible. She proves she's really great in the ring. Give her another chase. Very much what they did to Micah. See if it gets over organically. Very much like it sees with Micah, because we know she can put on main event matches. But it's another thing it's a one thing to be a main event match, but it's another thing to be a main event star. Very much like Giulia. She's a star from curtain to curtain. With Mirai, she's got the clap thing or whatever. She's over, but not to a certain degree. But her matches are phenomenal. I think she just needs that little bit, something different that kind of separates her, like a Giulia and Utami, Asaya, Mayu.
She needs those intangibles. She needs that aura, which she doesn't have.
Yeah.
Like,
that's why. Good.
No, it's what we've said. You know, there are some wrestlers that just have that aura. You know, Giulia has it. Shiori has it. Mina Shirakawa has it for me. You know,
in spades.
They just won't take absolutely.
They just won't take advantage.
We just give a feed it to Nanai Takahashi, who ironically doesn't have it, in my opinion. Mayu Iwatani has it. I think that Mirai is a fantastic wrestler, but she's yet to find that aura. She's yet to find that it factor. When she finds that, whatever it is that clicks for her, fine. The red belt scene, absolutely. But I would argue that until she finds that, she feels just like another good wrestler. And unfortunately, Stardom is a company where there is a lot of good wrestlers. Like, you look at people who haven't held the white belt and the red belt. Hazuki is top of that list. Natsupoi is on that list. You know, Mina Shirakawa had the white belt for 30 days or something completely ridiculous. You know, there are fantastic wrestlers that haven't held those belts. You've got to have more than just being a fantastic wrestler or a very good wrestler. And for me, Mirai doesn't quite have that yet. Her in-ring has improved, in my opinion, since having the white belt. But maybe getting the belt off her was the best thing for her. Give it to Saori Anou, who, again, has that aura. She carried herself out entering Queendom today. Good grief. The feathery thing that she had going on. Even Kirsty looked at me and she's like, that was quite cool. And it did look quite cool. It did look quite cool. And she has that. She has those intangibles, Saori. And she then put on a fantastic match with Mirai. You know, the fact that she doesn't have a spine always helps. You know, her elasticity, the way she sells, phenomenal. We're going to talk about the match because I feel like we've talked a lot about Mirai and we've not really talked about the match. This is another one that I've seen divide opinion on social media. Yeah, and I sort of do, but allow me to explain it. This is how I foresaw it. So Mirai's so basically this stems from Saori Anou controlling the opening segment of the match. And then we had the explosive closing segment, which was brilliant, brutal. That first section for people felt quite slow, felt quite disjointed. Now, the reason that I think it felt like that was deliberate. You've got Saori Anou, who knows that you have got a very, very overzealous Mirai, who is looking for that power, looking for that speed, looking for that head of steam to build up into, to get the claps going, to feed off that energy, to start laying in lariats. The more Anou frustrated Mirai, the more likely she is to make that mistake that allows her in. And that's when that furious closing segment came in, that closing sequence, that closing 10 minutes, which was just move after move after move after move, reversal, kicking after absolutely everything. There was so many near falls in this. Mirai hits the Miramare Shock. Nothing, kicks out. Mirai hits ridiculous power slams. Nothing, kicks out. Jumping lariat, kicks out. Goes for the electric jet, kicks out. Everything she kicks out of. And you can see Mirai getting more and more and more and more frustrated. Overall, I love this match. I think the result was the right result, ultimately. I think the way they structured the match, though I can see why some people are a little bit off with the timing, I loved it. I thought it worked really, really well. The Poison Rana out of nowhere, which Venkins just said, yes, absolutely, brilliant. I think the two styles melded really well. You've got someone who is very much into the finesse of pro wrestling in Saori Anou, but isn't afraid of getting her hands dirty. And you've got someone who is very brutal and very hard hitting in Mirai. And I think those two styles worked really well. They told a story for the first half and then just started beating the hell out of each other for the second half. And I think that worked really, really well. And it's worth pointing out as well that Saori Anou has had a great year. She's had a really, really good year since she debuted in Stardom. Well, I'll say re-debuted in Stardom. The stuff with Restart was great. The stuff with Saori Poi was great. She had a great 5-star. And yeah, overall, I thought this match was fantastic. I gave it 4.5 stars.
Saori definitely earned it because when I went back again, when I rewind, and this is one of the two matches I watched more than once, is from her neck all the way down to her chest, there was blister. Black and blue. Mirai beat the.
Mirai,
we knew it was going to happen.
Absolutely mullered her.
I think that, and again, I kind of don't understand why everyone was so decisive because I absolutely love this match. This was an instant classic, and it might be just. And if you didn't like this match, maybe go wait a day or two and go watch it in its own vacuum. It's on YouTube.
Yeah,
I think it's because of the storytelling of the last two matches where you're up and down, and then you blitz on the finish. We saw it in the tag match, and then we saw it in Megan Bain and Giulia where they just go and kill each other doing moonsaults for whatever. And great. Great. And then this one kind of is a slower start. So it's just like, guys, you have to let it build. It can't be, I want it now. Like, let it build. They're giving this match time to tell the story. which then the main event goes completely different, which was great psychology. We'll get into that in a moment. But it's building, and then you just see them just dropping bombs. And Mirai, she's throwing the right lariat, the left lariat. You know what Soriano's trying to work over Mirai's neck. She tries for the mirror Mirai shock, and so I don't know how Sayori does, but jumps up, hits the poison rana, and then that one spot where she hits 2 German suplexes in a row, and she goes for the third, and Mirai grabs the second rope, and the ref, right before the ref goes to break, because you have 5 seconds to break, Sayori punts and kicks Mirai's hand off and then drags her right back in the middle. It's a perfect German suplex. What a great fall scene. And then there was all the clotheslines. And then very much like I said before about teasing a big move and then finally hitting it. Mirai goes back hitting lariat after lariat and then hits the mirror Mirai shock. I'm like, okay, this is the finish because we teased it before. Now not only do we get it, but Mirai weakens Sayori with hitting all those lariats. Sayori kicks out and then it's just back and forth. And then she goes for the Tom's Tandra the first time. And we've seen the counter happen. Tom's Tandra. Well, no, I'm sorry. The first time she goes for like a short arm clothesline, almost like the Rainmaker. And then Sayori does what I call the back. I think it's called the Potter Ring. I call it the backslide from heaven. And I'm like, maybe this is the finish because that's how they won. Her, Kyrie, and Poi won the trios title, the artist titles. Yeah. So it was like that. And I bid on that. I bid on so many falsies. And then she goes for the Tom's Tandra the first time. And I'm like, oh, she hits this. This might be it. And then she just gets absolutely destroyed with a lariat from Mirai. We saw, I think she countered it at Corkin Hall in the 5-star, but I know she countered it at the Gold Rush match with a 30-minute time limit draw. I know it's coming. I still wasn't prepared for just the brutal violence. And then it goes back and forth with Sarah just move after move after move, and then hits the Tom's Tandra. And I anybody watches me when I watch wrestling, these big matches, when they hit a big move and you're not sure if they're going to kick out. There's 2 things that annoy me. When the announcers say that's it, it's over. 9.5 times out of 10, it's not over. Or when they're looking directly at the ref. And I'm like, they're kicking out because they're looking at the ref. She finally hits, again, builds the Tom Tandra. That's her go-to finish. She has a lot of finish, but that's her big one. She finally hits it after the trio of German suplexes and Mirai's eyes are closed. And I'm like, oh my God, they're changing the title. And Mirai kicks out last second. I'm like, oh my God, we're building. Then finally, Sayori's like, I had enough. She hits the, what was it? It was like a modified Tiger suplex. What did they call it? What was the finish?
It's officially listed on the Stardom website as the Japanese Cyclone Suplex.
Okay. The Ocean City's the Toyota one. That's why I thought, okay. And then she hits that. I'm like, well, that's got to be the finish because she's breaking out something new, very much like Giulia last year. And I'm like, this was great. Like, I think I texted you right away, and I was like, it's one of the best Wonder matches ever, which is saying a lot. And then I saw Twitter was just like, this was terrific. This was great. And then some people were like, oh, that's nice that Sayori won after giving the worst performance of her career. I was like, you watch a different match? That's why I went back and watched it again. And I was like, nope, I watched the match that I watched. Guess who liked it? I liked it. I know this guy over here liked it, and I hope you all liked it. There it is, Neil, my man. She's not happy. Yeah, and the fact that she's in there with Mirai, who's another person that's not capable of having a bad match. Again, if you didn't like it, I always say wrestling is subjective. You can like what you like, and I respect your opinion. I'm also really sorry for you. 4 3/4 stars. This was the second best match on one of the best shows of the year. This was fantastic, and I'm excited to see where she goes with this. Now, my friend, they did tease Natsupoi because they were kind of like staring at each other. Did you see about an hour after the show who was very vocal on Twitter that wanted a white belt match ASAP?
Oh, I don't know. Go on.
Now, Rob Goodwin, I do not like short title defenses, especially with that Wonder Run. If this is a short title defense, you know who I wanted to drop it to, right?
Absolutely. Hazuki
said she wants the shot at the white belt. That might be our V1, or we might build to it. Regardless, I will take it. And maybe she's not signed. Maybe it's like, you win the white belt because you're a phenomenal wrestler. You had a great year. You had to vanquish the tag titles, and then you just, because you're not signed, we are look at that. The worst performance was deleted, by the way. Good. Anyway, I'm glad. Yeah. Again, you can like what you like, but you're wrong on that one. And maybe it's just like you're gonna have the belt and then you're gonna lose it on the V1 to Hazuki. Again, I don't like, especially with Stardom, especially with those 2 belts. I don't like short runs. But if we're putting the belt on Hazuki, there's exceptions to every rule.
Absolutely.
And when you punt a clown in the face, you deserve a title shot.
Absolutely.
You deserve a title.
Absolutely. I feel like that is how everyone should earn their title runs. Sod your money in the bank, sod your 5-star Grand Prix, just pump the clown and you can have your title.
Now, folks, if you're at a child's birthday party, don't tape it and put it on Twitter and tag us that Matt and Rob said kick a clown in the face.
Yeah,
you said that, not me.
although to be fair, new t-shirt design.
Don't. I
just
told
kick
you what
the
one
clown.
Is. Yeah, kick the clown.
Yeah,
Pin the clown. Your silhouette. Pin the clown.
Now, I have realized that we are almost at 3 hours and haven't spoken about the main event. So we will get to the main event now. I just want to briefly say that obviously once we've gone through this show, the next time that we will be with you will be Wednesday, which I believe will be the 3rd. I won't have had time to watch the pay-per-view by then. So we'll work something out with that. Just bear with us. Bear with us. Anyway, main event, final thing that we are going to talk about today. Vacant World of Stardom Championship run. Maika defeats Suzu Suzuki to become the red belt champion. I've never been happier. The 17th red belt champion wins it with 3 successive Michinoku Driver 2 in 20 minutes and 39 seconds. In complete contrast to the Siori and Mirai match, which was structured and then led to that furious last sort of flurry, this was just absolute carnage from the get-go, and I loved it. And Matt, we talked on the preview about how you've got to take crowd reaction into sort of consideration. And we gave the example of, I think, Kofi Kingston from WrestleMania 35. And the reaction to Maika recently has been incredible. Suzu is a great wrestler. Suzu will be a red belt champion. There is no doubt about this. No doubt in my mind at all. This was not her time. For me, this had to be Maika. Just because of the organic reaction. You captured that lightning in the bottle that doesn't happen that often. I'm still convinced, had that match between Utami and Syuri not happened in 2021, you know the match, the 5.5-star match, Syuri would not have been a red belt champion. I don't think she would have been a red belt champion. You have to go with sort of occasionally, yes, having a plan is great. But when something comes along like this, like the lightning in the ball, like the crowd support for Maika, it feels natural to give that to Maika. Now, don't get me wrong. If Suzu Suzuki had won, I would have been fine with that. I would be fine with Suzu Suzuki. Whoever won this, it wouldn't, but it would be a case of, Suzu Suzuki won it. Okay, well, that's like being the second poorest billionaire. Like, it's a great thing to happen. I'd have just preferred Maika. Like, I'm not going to be embittered by that. Suzu Suzuki is 21 years old. She is the future of wrestling. She will be red belt champion. But I still stand by the fact that Maika, this was Maika's time. The moment they started plugging the Himika stuff in the video package, and then she hit the running power bomb as well, I was like, they're not going to do this and then have Maika lose. It didn't feel right. And here you, sorry, I am going to get your name right. I apologize. Has actually put it better here. It was now or never for Maika. Suzu will have her time. And I think that's the sentiment that's been shared by a lot of Stardom fans. This, and I said this to you on the preview, if Maika doesn't win it here, is she going to be able to be heated up to this point again to win the red belt?
Catch that in the bottle again, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas I think Suzu, it's not going to take a lot to heat her back up to that red belt scene. And I think that was really, really, really important. This was a great match. Ultimately, the most cathartic finish that we could possibly have going into 2024. You had 2 future stars of the company in Maika and Suzu Suzuki have 2 star-making performances, blitz each other for 20 minutes, and then Maika goes backstage, celebrates the belt with Himika. Are you kidding me? That's perfect. That's beautiful. That's pro wrestling perfection. Ultimately, I absolutely adored this match. I adored it for all of the ridiculous brutality, all of the callbacks to their 5-star Grand Prix final. I loved it for everything Micah gave to it, and you could see her physically just giving everything to the point where even when she hit that third Michinoku driver, as she got Suzu up, I was like, she's going for too many. She's gone for too many. Suzu's going to reverse out of it like she did in the 5-star, but she gets it and wins. And it was just perfect. It was the cathartic moment. She calls out half the locker room after the match. Utami, Saya Kamatani, Giulia. I'm like, well, there's, and then who else did she call out?
Tam,
of course. Well, there's 4 title defenses. Like straight away, that's till April. We're sorted.
We're good.
There's nothing I did. This was all structured beautifully. It fit beautifully. Yes, Suzu Suzuki becomes the first 5-star winner to not be successful in their challenge since Hana Kimura in 2019. Suzu's time will come. She is 21 years old. And let's not forget, she wasn't even supposed to win this 5-star. That was horrible as it sounds. It was an afterthought tournament. It was supposed to be Saya Kamatani. Suzu won the tournament. That's a great honor. And again, she is a phenomenal wrestler. Future of Stardom, without a shadow of a doubt. And she will get that opportunity again. She will be in so many more main events. She'll be so over. She will be a future Red Belt champion. But Micah's time was now. And I don't think, if Micah would have lost here, I don't think there is any rehabbing her to this point again. That's my thought anyway. Overall, Matt, I gave it 4 3/4 stars. I think it's on par with their 5-star Grand Prix final, with the added emotion of everything that went into it, the brutality of the chair spots, the table spot, which, again, that table spot looked like it absolutely wrecked because the table just did not want to break because, as we know, Japanese wood is the hardest. Micah trying desperately to stop Suzu Suzuki hitting the Sky Twister press again, kicking out of all these ridiculous moves, the lariats. It's beautiful. All in all, a great way to end this pay-per-view. And in my opinion, and I know you're going to disagree with me, the right choice.
What was the star rating you gave this?
I gave it 4 3/4 stars.
Oh, I gave it 2 stars. No, I love this match. I said last week, it didn't matter who won; it would be the right decision. I have Suzu as my pick because when Saya got hurt, the general pick was for Suzu to defeat Tam at Gold Rush and then have a little bit of run for the belt. And that's where I thought they were coming. However, plans do change, especially with Micah getting organically over to the degree that she did. But you can tell this was the right decision as soon as Micah got in the ring, because in between Micah's music stopped playing and Suzu coming to the ring, Micah very much towards the end of their match from the 5-star. So it's like,
yeah.
And Suzu came out, she got a great reaction. Don't get me wrong.
She did.
But it was, and it was a great match. And the fact that this went, you said it went 20 minutes, didn't feel like that because this especially the build up, you weren't going to have that technical wrestling to start. They know what they were getting into. They were getting into a fight, and it started right there from the forearms. They went outside. They did some brutality. Suzu got the better of the brutality. She brings a table. Now we get into a whole nother thing. It was a lot of counters. Like Suzu would hit those 2 kicks, go for the third one. Micah would catch for the power bomb, or Suzu reverse into the Rana, which we saw on the apron through the table, which was an absolutely crazy spot. And then it just built and built. There was no feeling out process. It was bomb after bomb after bomb. Settle, and then like the crowd again, right from the Giulia match up until this co-main event, up until here, it was all the crowd was really hot for everything. You thought Suzu would hit the Sky Twister press. Micah never gave her the opportunity. She hit 3 beautiful suplexes in a row to really kind of soften up Suzu. There was just some really great back and forth stuff. And if you think that the wrong person won this match, go and listen. I gave this 5 stars, Rob. I was at 4 3/4 with you. But when you go back and watch it, I always give extra credit for crowd reaction because ultimately that's what you're getting. You're hooking that crowd in. When Mike hits the third Michinoku driver, you hear that crowd go 1, 2, 3, boom. The biggest pop of the night after 4 hours of great wrestling wasn't a move. It was the final 3 count. So you're sending the folks home happy. You gave them a
Yeah.
great show. You gave them a great match. Even if this match, for some reason, if it missed in certain points, I still think they would have had a big pop for the finish because they wanted Micah to win. The fact that it was such a roller coaster, you didn't know which way it was going to go, and Suzu was hitting this, and the 3 count can happen at any time. And then we get the 3 Michinoku drivers, which what does that say for Suzu Suzuki? That took 3 of Micah's finishers to put her away. So I thought this was really, really good. Excellent match. Now, for all you Suzu Suzuki fans out there, Rob said it. She's only 21 years old. You know what now you can do with her? You can have her tag with May Sarah, right? You could.
Yeah.
Rob, guess what you can do in 6 months, 8 months? Have her win the white belt. You can have her win the 5-star again. There's a lot you can do with her. Suzu Suzuki, year-long white belt run. I'm for
Absolutely.
it. Give me Suzu for the white belt with Natsupoi, with Sayori, with Mirai versus Utami, Saya, Zumi, Saya Ida, the human Cadillac Dorian DeVille. There it is.
Who did get a mention in our comments.
Whoa.
And I missed it. I'll bring it up. Hang on. I'll bring it up.
I'll keep ranting. But this is
you keep ranting.
Yeah, but the fact I thought Suzu was gonna win, but it was just the fact that the crowd was so into Micah. You had it in the beginning. Suzu got over the entire match. But again, she's the 3rd Michinoku driver, and listen to that pop, organic pop for a great match, a great show. And again, your biggest pop of the night in a 4-hour show.
There you go. Neil, my guy.
There it is. He is now. We'll get it right. We have to. We have to. I know this is going long, and we got to get going because it's almost midnight your time, and I haven't eaten dinner yet, and I can smell the food cooking. But if when we go to WrestleCon in Philly, we got to see if Luke Gallows is there, see if he can cut a promo as the human Cadillac during the bill. Because I have to ask him about that. But yeah, again, I gave this 5 stars. It was 4 3/4, but because of the crowd reaction in the beginning, throughout the match, and that big pop at the end, these two absolutely killed it. Let's talk about real quick the new gear. They both look phenomenal. They both look like stars. I thought that the Himika thing should have happened in the ring, but I get it. You kind of don't want to ruin that moment. And then how about Giulia pulling Suzu out and having her carry down to the point that you see Tam in the shot, and Tam, who's someone who loves the camera loves her. She gets out of the way of the camera. So this way they can kind of have their moment. So great match, great stuff. Yeah, thoughts on the Giulia Suzu angle. If Giulia is going to WWE, I think Suzu is going to replace her in Donald Del Mundo, with Micah being the leader, and then Suzu kind of being very much like, if you remember DDM when it first started, it was a super group. You know what I mean? And Donald Del Mundo, all the factions have anywhere between 2 to 3 main eventers anyway. You know, you have Taurus, Starlight Kid, Momo, you know, you have Azumi, Sai. If Giulia goes to DDM, you have Micah, no disrespect to Tekla and May Sakurai, they're not main eventers. You put Suzu in there, now you have your 2 main eventers in the group. So I think that's where they're going with that. And maybe on the way out, Suzu or Giulia puts Suzu over. If she is going, I think she needs to put Suzu over. She needs to put Micah over, and we need to see that one-on-one Utami match. Put it at a Corkin if you don't have time on pay-per-views. There it is, folks. There it is. This was great. I absolutely love this. I didn't even realize I with 3 hours. If you guys love this, I love doing this. You know, maybe we'll do this for, you know, 2 or 3 times a year for all the big shows, you know, if we can fit it in. I thought this was great. I thought this was terrific. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Obviously, we'll be back next week. We'll be talking about the Triangle Derby, which, of course, is a one-night tournament this year. We'll also be talking about the January 4th show, the Stardom Gate show, with Syuri and Mayu Iwatani on top. For the IWGP Women's Championship. We'll also be talking about the Stardom Cast 4th Annual Awards, End of Year Awards, which will be live on our Twitter after this podcast has dropped. Thank you, Plug Pedro. We love you guys. We love you too. And I am just going to end the podcast on this note. Rob is too handsome for wrestling.
I respectfully agree.
I respectfully agree. Well, thank you very much, my bro. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this live stream. It has been incredibly fun. So, yeah, we hope you've had a lovely 2023. Thank you for all of your support during 2023. It's been an incredible year, quite a scary year in terms of the growth that we've had. We couldn't have done this without any of you. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to all of our supporters who just listen to the podcast, who listen to YouTube, interact with us on social media, subscribe to the Patreon at patreon.com/StardomCast. Thank you to everyone. And hopefully 2024 will continue this way. And obviously, hopefully 2024 brings you all of the stuff that you want as well. Thank you for joining us. We know we've gone long. Thank you for sticking with us. But yeah, you can find us on social media at the Stardom Cast. If you want to help us out even more, a 5-star review and a comment would really help us out on the podcast app of your choice. And yeah, if you fancy talking to me, I don't know why you would, but if you want to talk to me on Twitter, then please feel free at Real Rob Goodwin. And yeah, Matt Turner, sign us off for our last podcast of 2023.
Absolutely, guys. Questions, comments, anything you need from me. We're going to be kind of revamping some things on the Patreon. And if you have suggestions, we're open to it. We are open to it. Anything I can do for you, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter. I did make mention that I'm a huge fan of the Twilight Zone. We have the Twilight Zone Marathon actually starting tomorrow. So it's like a 3-day marathon. And I already had some folks messaging me my favorite episode. So that's nice to, you can ask me pretty much anything outside of the realm of pro wrestling, although pro wrestling is my favorite thing to talk about. Again, questions, comments, Matt Turner OF right there on the Instagram and or the Twitter. You want to shoot we'll figure it out by 2025, buddy. I gotta feel it.
Got
if
it.
You want to shoot me, you gotta shoot me an email. That's my goal. The StardomCast22@gmail.com is the best way to get hold of me via email, folks. Rob said it. This year has just been absolutely insane. Everything that we've done, and we're not resting on our laurels. We're going to keep the Stardom train going. Does not happen without you. We greatly appreciate your support because, like I always say, just not my podcast. It's our podcast because we're all together. Everybody's different. Everybody's special.